All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order. Meeting of the Carver Select Board for Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. This meeting is being broadcast live and is also being recorded by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 9, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. There are openings on several committees. Please refer to the front page on our website for a listing and application. If we could all stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hoffman, could you read our community prayer?
Sure. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially, we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek, and keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you, Mr. Hoffman. The first item on our agenda this evening, as always, is citizens' participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board this evening? Seeing none. The next item on our agenda is a poll hearing, but that is scheduled for 6:05 and it can't start early. So I see that we have an applicant for our Economic Development Plan Committee here. Mr. Ward, would you like to come up, Mr. Ward, and tell us a little bit about why you're interested in this committee?
Well, I've lived here 60 some odd years now. I'm kind of attached to the town. And I think I bring a Cranberry perspective to the committee. What I'd like to be able to do eventually is to have a little bit more engagement with members of the town, with the Cranberry community, to make sure folks feel like they're a part of the history of such a deep history of cranberries. I have an awful lot of cranberry background. I've been doing it for almost 50 years. I have served as president of the Cape Cod Cranberry Growers Association. I'm on the board of directors there. I'm also on the board of directors for the State Farm Bureau. So I'm very engaged in the farming community. I just want to bring that aspect to the committee.
Okay. And you're applying for the cranberry grower position, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Is there a motion to appoint Mr. Ward?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Carter?
Just a question with regards to, obviously, agricultural background speaks for itself, but do you have any thoughts on what kind of economic development you'd like to see in the future?
Well, certainly the chair and I have talked a little bit about how do we have a cranberry education facility or something, a museum type of thing, tours, and would that actually help the community if we had more tours? Would that draw more business to the town? I'd really like to explore that more to see if that would be helpful.
Thank you.
If I could, I might want to follow up on Mr. Carter's question there. I also think with the economic development plan, we're looking for balance in Carver. We're not going to become an industrial town. We're not going to pave every square foot of Carver. So we're looking for Steve's insight here to kind of bring that balance to the plan. That's one of the things I think you always want whenever you put together a committee. You want that broad spectrum of views, and I think Steve brings a unique view that will be well represented and very beneficial. One thing you never want to do is bring a plan forward that the minute it comes in front of a board that looks at it says, what are you guys thinking? What's going on here? You know, when you don't have those diverse views. So I think Steve will bring that perspective to the board and help us greatly.
Great. Okay, we have a motion. And a
I
second.
make a motion to appoint Steve Ward
We did
to
already.
We-
Economic-
Motion already.
Already did.
Economic Development Plan Committee.
Already have that.
What? Oh, we already did that, yes.
Already did.
I'm in favor.
All in favor?
Hello.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Ward. Did I also see Mr. Massini here? Interest in the airport committee? Good. Welcome. Mr. Massini is applying for the Plymouth Airport Community Advisory Committee. Would you like to just tell us quickly why you're interested in that committee?
I think I'm mainly interested because I live on 51 South Meadow Road, right here in Carver. I live right on the direct approach to runway 6. I am currently doing some hours with Alpha One to get my private pilot's license. And I am like a supporter of the airport, and I'd like to be more involved, I guess, with it because, you know, Carver shares it with Plymouth. I'm a full-time member in public safety as a career. I know a lot about, like, you know, hazmat situations, more of the emergency side of things, and I just think I might be an asset to the committee.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I think we submit the name to the Plymouth
Yes,
Select
have we,
Board.
have we figured out the appropriate procedure for this, Mr.?
Correct. So this board will recommend an appointment to the Plymouth Select Board for his appointment, his final appointment.
Okay, great.
In one of their meetings, they'll probably make the appointment, so
Okay.
you may want to pay attention, see when they're doing it, so you can,
Yeah, hopefully they
Attend
send
if
out an
needed.
email or something.
Yeah.
okay,
Hopefully.
thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
to you, sir, as well as Mr. Ward, you'll get a letter from the town clerk
Okay.
notifying you of your appointment, and then you can come in and be sworn in.
All right,
You have to be
great.
sworn in before you can attend any meetings.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back now to our 6:05 agenda item, which is a poll hearing for N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England for permission to locate and relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting figures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public ways, South Main Street and Main Street, for 8 joint-owned mid-span poles in right-of-way plan number 16247683, dated April 17, 2025. Also, that permission be and hereby is granted to each of said companies to lay and maintain underground cables, conduits, wires, vaults, and necessary equipment in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each may desire for distributing purposes. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Julie Longer, and I'm from Eversource. And again, we would like to install 8 joint-owned poles, mid-span poles on South Main Street and Main Street. We are requesting these new poles because we are adding new circuits to support upgrades. There is a demand on the grid and also to increase solar capacity per DPU requirements. We are upgrading poles to 45 feet from 35 feet to support thicker wire and new 3-phase cable, as well as adding new reclosers and switchgear that will allow greater reliability throughout the town.
All right. Before we turn it over to the board, are there any members of the public here that would like to speak to this? Sir, why don't you come on up?
Feel free to sit by a mic.
Yeah. If you could just identify yourselves for the folks at home?
Good evening, Eric and Amy Germain, 196 Main Street. Good evening, Mr. Chair, and to the members of the board, town administrator, and assistant town administrator. I guess first thing, we have some little handouts so you can kind of visualize what we'd like to speak about, if that's okay
Sure,
to hand out.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, good evening. We're here to discuss, obviously, the Eversource project on Main Street, as 196 Main Street is our address, and our property is slated for a mid-span power pole. So we understand the scope of the project, and we also understand, the right-of-way, how that works on Main Street. But some of the things, there's three main points that we'd like to discuss about the installation, particularly pole number 9 over 194.5, and how it will negatively impact our property and our family. Actually, when we get into it, we can articulate that. I guess the first point is a significant safety point for us, and when we get into the photographs, we'll show that the pole that's proposed and the spot that it's going to get put in is a huge, it takes our sight line from Route 58, and if you want to go to the packet, the first, obviously there's a cover page, the second page in there shows the plan that was submitted by Eversource. And if you look, there's a red pole. It actually says, so it's the pole 194.5. It says it's 180 feet from pole 194, which it's actually a typo. So it should be 108 feet. And then from the new pole, the proposed pole, to the other existing pole on the other side of our property is also 108 feet. If you turn to the next page, second page in, so you can see that we got a little crafty and we made our own power pole. It is actually, it's not more narrow than the existing poles that are there. We made ours conservatively, made them 12 inches wide. The poles that are on our property currently are over 13 inches wide, so we took the conservative route. That picture there just shows the location where the pole is slated to go. We took the measurements off the plan, and then we also ran a rope from one existing pole to the other so that we could get exactly in the right-of-way from left to right where that pole would be. So you can see again from that photograph where that is. We'll go to the next page if you could, please. I drove my pickup right to the edge of the driveway as if I was ready to pull out onto Route 58. And I got out of the truck just to show you the placement of the vehicle and how the current infrastructure looks, and then the pole that's proposed. So that's just to give you an idea of the position of the pickup and where it is. I will say, we use my pickup as the mock. My pickup sits high. It has a great, it's all glass all the way around. It has a really good vantage point, really good views. When we did it with my wife's vehicle, which is a smaller SUV that sits lower, and I have a smaller vehicle also other than the pickup. That one between our mailbox, which again is our issue, but the mailbox and the proposed pole, it was unbelievable. I mean, there's virtually zero line of sight, looking down to the left, so looking southbound on Route 58. Excuse me one second. So the next photo, so what I did was I sat in the pickup and I took rapid succession camera shots. And you can see that there's a circled area right next to that mock power pole that we made. You can just see, and I use that one on purpose, you can just see the rear end of a vehicle sticking out, of that photograph. The next shot, it was completely obscured, and then obviously it comes out the other side. So, and if you look at where the pole is placed, the view sight line down Route 58, at one point that's blocking both lanes of travel, and we're talking about a road that's 50 miles an hour in a passing zone, and I'm sure you all drive on Route 58, no one drives 50 miles an hour, and there's people passing each other. I mean, it's like a racetrack out there. So on a normal good day, it's difficult to get out of the driveway. Never mind, something like this, this obstructed view. We'll move to the next photo. Believe it or not, there's a vehicle completely obscured by that pole. So if I was to pull out front of that, your bad things are going to happen. The other thing I would say is it's not just my wife and I, coming and going from our driveway. My 84-year-old mother visits daily. She sits in the driveway for sometimes 10, 13, 14 minutes trying to get out of the driveway because of how she drives as an older person. You know, and our concern is her and my wife's family when my in-laws are here, and anyone else that comes and goes from our driveway with that site obstruction. You know, I really believe it's a huge safety issue for us, and I'm just not happy about it, I guess is what I would say. The next picture, the landscape picture, shows a vehicle completely obscured from that power pole, and I circled, you can see the shadow of the vehicle in the roadway. You can also see just the tip of the driver's mirror hanging out. Again, these cars are traveling at 50, 60 miles an hour. And that's what we're looking at, trying to come out of our driveway. If you look at any of those photos, you can see the current infrastructure. So there's a pole at one end of our property and another pole at the other end. And you can see kind of the layout there. There really is, I guess I'll move on to the next photo, please. The next photo shows the drop in speed limit from 50 to 45. And this existing pole, obviously, there's nothing we can say about an existing pole. This pole line's been been here since Main Street was formed and whenever they initially put them in. So, but you can see we fight that same obstructed view issue on the right side from the southbound traffic. So now we're going to fight it again on both sides trying to come out of the driveway. You can see that red circle. There's a vehicle almost completely obscured by that pole. And again, the pole's existing. There's nothing I can say about it, but just trying to call your attention to it's difficult and something bad's going to happen one of these days. And I just don't want it to be one of my family members. The next picture shows that same vehicle just coming out of the blind spot. So again, we're talking about vehicles that get completely obscured by that pole. And I'll just, I'll move on to the last photo and just have you hold there for a minute. So the safety issue is paramount for us. Again, the obstructed view, the vehicles traveling at the speed they do, which we can't help, the passing zone, which we can't help. That's the biggest issue for us, but there's two others. One of them is more of a question, and some of the properties that are slated for these midspan poles, including ours, is in the Savory Historic District, in town. I have to believe that the current pole spacing as it is was installed that way for a reason, and I'm not so sure that it wasn't for historical reasons, so that the properties are displayed in that historical district, in their, what I call beauty, but I wonder I'm curious if the Historical Commission would have any concerns, especially to the negative aesthetic issues of placing these poles directly in the center of properties in the historic district. So right now our property, you can see from one end to the other, it's just a beautiful piece of property, and now there's going to be a pole stuck right in the middle of it in a historic district. And again, this is a lesser of concern. The safety concern is paramount to us, but these are obviously, another thing that we're concerned about. There are many pole spans on Main Street and other streets in this town that exceed the current span of these poles that we're discussing. So you drive around, you'll find poles that are well greater spacing than what we're talking about, the two poles that are on our property. And they have the new conductors. You drive down Cranberry Road, all the new overhead circuits that they've been installing. There's those exact circuitry on poles that have more spacing than what we're looking at on our property. Our last concern is how we keep our property and how this will negatively impact that. And again, I'd call your attention to this last page. This doesn't show our home, but it shows the frontage on Route 58, and it shows how we keep it. We keep a nice lawn there, flowers, and we strive to maintain our property to a condition worthy of representing our town's historic Savory Avenue district on Main Street, and that's how we feel about it. It's a privilege to be housed on Main Street, to own a property on Main Street in the historic district, and we try to keep it worthy of that. Again, we understand how the right-of-way works, but we take care of that piece of property. We pay taxes on that property, and we take a lot of pride in it. The lawn that you see there is irrigated by our sprinkler system. There's 3 main feeder pipes that run through that ground right there with 7 sprinkler heads that go on both sides of the driveway. If that pole is to be installed and they drill through those lines, which they will do, you know, who fixes that? Who pays for that? And again, I'll end up fixing it and I'll end up paying for it. But that's our stuff. I put a lot of work, time, and effort into that. We do. I'm sorry, honey. We do. Additionally, if the pole is installed, the support wires that are on the 2 poles that are already on our property, those support wires that come off those poles already come into they're on the property line, so it is what it is, so we don't say anything about it. But now you're going to put a pole in the middle of our property, and you're going to stretch support lines that are going to come well onto our property outside of the easement or the right-of-way, and get anchored into our property.
I think maybe what I would suggest, you have obviously brought up a number of, I think, public safety concerns, as well as some concerns about the historic area. And I think what might be best at this time is that we have Eversource coming in, I believe, on October 21st.
Yes.
To discuss some things with us. Maybe we could continue this. Do you think you'd have time to go back out and look at the configuration of these poles and see if there's some adjustments we could make by October 21st? Would that work for a schedule? So if the board was agreeable, could we have a motion to continue this hearing until October 21st at, Ms. Weston, could we do 6:05?
6:30.
6:30?
So moved.
A second.
We have a motion and a second.
I've got a question.
Mr. Carter?
Are you talking just the 605 or all of them? Because
Talking just the 6:05.
I don't know how many more of these issues we have on these other locations. I mean, no one's come here, maybe they have, they haven't, with photos of the 19 and the last one. I mean, I just think that,
Well-
I'm a little bit concerned where all these are going right now, but.
Well, the only item on our agenda right now that we can discuss is the
Okay.
6:05 public hearing. If you'd like to make a motion at the following ones, we could do that as well, but right now, we're discussing the 6:05. Yes, Mr.
Yeah, one of my questions is there any place they could place it, or you're saying that they just can't put it anywhere in that area? There's not, if, I
Well,
guess... Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
So I'm sure 108 feet is the center, and that's what they're striving for, the center. To go one way or the other is not going to make a big difference to either of us, I don't think, except the fact that the sight line doesn't improve.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If we wanted to improve our sight line, they'd have to move it way down, and that's not going to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, which is, the other thing I was going to say in here is, when you look at the overhead utilities there, again, I understand the project, but there's no sagging, the poles aren't leaning, I guess I would ask that Eversource either delete this pole from the project and find an alternative to that. And in that I wrote, I don't like to propose a problem without proposing a solution. You can do those things with guy wire, string of supports for overhead utilities or some other accepted practice by Eversource.
Yeah, I think
So that was
let's give Eversource a chance to go back and relook at the property and see what creative solutions we can come back with. Yes, Mr.
And I think the same is there's a number of poles going along, there, so I guess there's no other residents here, but the same issue as Mr. Carter was saying. I don't know if that's been checked to see if there's any visual impairments to people along Route 58 for where you're placing that, so it might make sense when you come back to at least have looked along and see how many poles may be in that situation.
Right.
Where they could be impairing people's view if they're pulling out of driveways, other than this one particular case.
Okay.
That would be good.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, October 21st at 6:30. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for
Okay.
your time and the opportunity to speak. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for
Thank
this
you.
excellent presentation. All right, next. Next, we have a poll hearing for N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to locate and relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public way: Meadow Street for 1, FO Pole 111/54, Plan number 16247-727, dated July 31st, 2025. Also, that permission be and hereby is granted to said company to lay and maintain underground cables, conduits, wires, vaults, and necessary equipment in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each may desire for distributing purposes. Is there
Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Hewens. Do we have a second? We have a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so, again, we would like to propose one fully owned, which means Eversource would fully own it, pole on Meadow Street, number 111/54.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public here to speak on this particular hearing? Yes, sir, come on up. You could just introduce yourself for the folks at home, right there. Thank you.
Hi, Jordan Trendy, 213 Meadow Street. So I believe this pole is sort of intersecting property. I just had a question or clarification about these poles. We have a farm stand at the front of that property. And I haven't seen the plan, so I'm a little less prepared. I don't have pictures, but we're just wondering where that stands in proximity to the structure of the building that's at the front of Meadow Street.
So I'm sure that it was in fact staked. Did you not see a stake out there? So typically what happens is when we're going to go ahead and install a pole, we would do a stake on it, so anybody inquiring about it would see where it was. But it also does give the distance between the existing pole and the new pole. I can certainly, if you wanted me to have somebody go out there and meet with you and, have it staked out, then we certainly can do that for you.
Yeah, that would be helpful, I think, because we have a point of business right there at the street, and we actually want that moved because there's problems with the existing location where people back their cars into the support pole, so we don't obviously want them hitting the Eversource pole. So typically when we run our events for cranberry harvests in the fall, we'll put cones around it to try to get people to avoid it, but they still end up backing into the pole. So I think it would be good to just maybe partner on this to make sure that we have the situation in the right spot so the public doesn't back into the poles.
Okay. It sounds like it might be worthwhile postponing this.
21st?
Yeah, Ms. Weston, if we continue this to the 21st as well, can we do it at 6:40?
6:35 or 6:40.
Okay, we'll do it. Is there a motion to continue this public hearing until October 21st at 6:35?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Please, if you don't see those stakes prior, please get in touch with the office here so we can have someone make sure they're out there, okay?
I'm going
Okay.
to give you my business card with my email address on it, so
Okay.
you can email me, and then
Yep.
I'll make arrangements to have somebody come out there and meet you.
Okay. And are we able to gather a proposal of the plan? Like, is that something that we do through the board or through Eversource?
Mr. Cannon, we can get the gentleman a copy of the map, can't we?
I believe a copy was just handed to his wife.
Okay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Should we post something about these, like on our website, so everybody can see exactly where they're gonna go?
Well, they get noted. We notify the abutters,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, we received a letter, so I wasn't sure if we have to just request that through.
You got a letter, but you get a map like that?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, you get mad at, but anyone could contact the town and they'd be able to get that. Okay. Next, we have a poll hearing for N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England for permission to locate and relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners, along and across the following public way or ways. Meadow Street, install 3 joint-owned poles, 111/39, 111/44.5, and 111/102.5. Plan number 1624777, dated July 31st, 2025. Also, the permission be and hereby is granted to each of said companies to lay and maintain underground cables, conduits, wires, vaults, and necessary equipment in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each may desire for distributing purposes. Is there a motion? to
I'll make a
open?
motion, to open the hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Turn it back to you.
So again, we're requesting 3 joint-owned poles on Meadow Street, and it, is for, again, the reliability project that we're currently working on.
All right. Are there any members of the public here to speak on this particular item? Anyone?
I'm going to step down.
Seeing none. Questions from the board?
I guess is this being done for the same purpose? For building up the infrastructure for solar and
Yes.
such? Okay. Now I'm concerned about any obstruction and things like that. All right.
Just got a question, I'm looking at the map. It says 0 Meadow Street, but it says on Pope's Point Road.
Pope's Point Road goes around, it's starting on Meadow Street. This is what they mapped for me. Hold on a second.
So should we have something where, did anyone from the town go to check to see if there are any driveways and obstructed view issues, if they're staked out?
We did not look for obstructed views in driveways. We just looked to see if the poles had actually been installed, but
You can confirm that you saw the stakes so that people knew these were going in? There were 3 marked staked poles? You can confirm that?
again, I can't confirm the stake. We were just looking for poles to make sure they were not installed before the public hearing was
Oh.
issued. It wouldn't be our normal practice to go,
No.
into people's driveways.
Yeah, our normal practice is to notify the
Yeah.
affected individuals, and if they have an issue, as people have done tonight, they come to the public hearing.
I guess my only question would be, how would we know if they're not staked, that we're looking in the right area to confirm there were no poles? I'm not a great map guy, to be honest with you, from the standpoint of being able to know exactly where these things are. But
I would, as far as I know, the DPW staff who goes out there, they're very skilled at this. They actually look at the numbers of the existing poles, and they track the numbers on the map. You can see, so they're looking at the poles, and they see that there is no pole installed.
All right, anything else? Is there a motion on this?
I guess I'm wondering if we should also have the driveways checked on this if we're doing the others. Doesn't make sense. I can see they are on lots, so they are going into people's lots there,
Well,
but I don't.
This would be a new procedure here for the
I know.
board. We haven't done that in the past, so if that's something you're interested in, I think what we should do is, through Mr. Cannon, instruct Mr. Woods that when he goes out to look and make sure that these poles aren't in, that he does that. But again, that's why we notify abutters, so they
Right.
have an opportunity to come to these hearings and make us aware of any issues that might be out there. So, yes, Mr.
I have a question. So on the previous poll hearing that we just pushed off to the next meeting, this is the same plan number, correct? So, and I know the previous one was a sole.
So these 3 poles are joint owned with Verizon.
Okay.
This other one, Verizon's not going to be on it, so it's solely an Eversource pole.
Okay, so I guess my question, where the previous one that we're postponing affected that gentleman and his wife with their farm stand, is this going to be in that same area? So would these 3 be interrupting their business as well?
Well, that one was pole number 111/54. This one's going down. We have 111/39, 111/44.5, and 111/102.5, so I don't think it's within his area.
Sorry.
Yes, Mr. Carter.
Not that I would, so his was, one that we postponed was 111/54. So I'm just picking the first one, 111/39. Is the 54 and the 39 the number of feet apart they are? What's the correlation?
Well, they're poles along the street, so they're not, these ones are, they're not in the same, they're further down the street, they're not in the same area.
Okay, I just didn't know if some kind of correlation numerically that specified distance between poles. If it doesn't, that's fine.
Okay, what is the board's pleasure on this? Is there a motion?
Can I make a motion contingent to at least, they're already going down that street to look at the previous, it's the same plan number, so could we make it contingent upon at least?
Are you looking to postpone it?
I don't know, how the rest of the board feel?
I mean, if you're looking to postpone it, I think there has to be a reason to postpone it. So we certainly want to give Eversource advice, so when they come back, we can make a decision on this.
I think in terms of precedent, as you mentioned, in the past, it's usually one pole, and there's usually a reason, and it's usually not anywhere. In this case, they're doing a whole infrastructure change. So it sounds to me that there's a lot of...
All the pertinent people were notified.
Right. Although the question is, we're about to open up another one in which there's an issue, but I don't know. All right, I'll make a motion to approve and see where it goes, if anybody wants to second it.
Okay.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'm just, I guess to read what Dan said, one pole, 2 poles here and there, we're looking at 33 poles. I know we're just looking at 3 for this one, but I guess I would just feel, residents get notified, yes, but we don't know if they went out, saw that where it's staked. We don't know if they know exactly where it's going, but we'll never know. I'm trying not to make the mistake with this one that we might have made with the first one with regards to light of sight, things of that nature, and are people coming out telling us that they have concerns.
What specifically, if we were to postpone this, and again, we have a motion and a second on the floor. What specifically are your concerns that both the town and Eversource can address?
There's 2 things. One is, are they marked? So if you go out to the property, are they actually marked so that the residents that are impacted can see that marking and know where the pole's going? And are they, again, obstructing driveways or safety issues on Meadow Street? Those would be the 2 reasons, I think, that would be consistent with the other postponements.
Okay. And Mr. Hoffman, do you share that concern?
Yeah, so I guess our dilemma is if the abutters didn't come to voice an objection, we can't assume that everything's good, that there is no sightline issues or...
That is accurate. But to Mr. Ryan's point, we did not have anyone for the town to verify that these locations have been staked out.
Correct.
And that appears to be a concern for some members of the board.
Okay.
So do we have a motion and a second? Would you prefer to withdraw your motion, Mr. Ryan?
I'll withdraw my motion, and I guess I'll make a motion to...
Mr. Hoffman,
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
And I can make a motion to postpone with the checking that these are properly staked out and
All right, so to postpone until
21st.
October 21st at, what time is Weston?
6:40.
6:40. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to say, I'm not sure we have staff qualified to determine whether the sightline obstructions. I saw in the last presentation, there was a rendering of a pole. We don't have that kind of...
No, I agree with that. I think what we need to ask staff to do for the benefit of the board, at least to satisfy the concerns of some members of the board, is to verify that those locations have been staked. So
yes.
residents can see where those poles are going.
Yes.
And that's the concern here,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. And I think I know where this was going, but
I think so.
finally, we have a poll hearing for NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England for permission to locate and relocate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners, along and across the following public way-of-ways: Plymouth Street for 19 FO poles and relocated 2 FO poles, plan number 16779-865, dated April 18th, 2025. Also, the permission be and hereby is granted to each of said companies to lay and maintain underground cables, conduits, wires, vaults, and necessary equipment in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each may desire for distributing purposes.
I'll make a motion, open the hearing.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to open the hearing. Before we move too far, does the board share the same concerns about these 19 poles?
Yes.
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 There's a lot of poles going along Plymouth Street.
Okay.
There's actually 21 that are involved here, right?
And I have a question.
Yes.
Are the existing poles going to remain as existing?
The remaining poles will be as well,
So in other words, are you putting in new poles and taking away the old poles?
so there are going to be replacements of poles, and then these are going to be new in addition to those poles that are already there, yes.
So there will be 19 plus however many existing poles there are
Existing poles
on
already
the
there.
same
yes.
street.
Mm-hmm,
And you need all those poles.
we do.
Okay.
I have a quick question. So the poles that I've driven by, the poles that are lying on the ground, are those the replacement for the current poles?
Probably. I'm
Okay.
not sure, but I would guess. If
Okay.
they're new poles, then yes, we are in the process of replacing poles that are there.
Okay.
And then these are new poles because the wiring that we're putting up is quite heavy, and the midspan, we need these midspan poles.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any members of the public here to speak about this evening? I want everyone to be aware, we did get a letter from an affected person who wasn't able to make the meeting, Ms. Jill McGinnis, who lives in 48 Plymouth Street. I did ask the town administrator to forward that letter to the members of the board, and I'll ask that that letter be included in the minutes of this meeting, this public hearing. She had some public safety concerns. Mr. Cannon, could you update the board on the results of, the chiefs went out and...
Sure.
and
So
looked at
the
that, right?
chiefs all did go out and take a look at it. I did correspond with the fire chief and the EMS chief with email. I spoke to the police chief about it. They are not concerned with additional safety measures. Now, I'll tell you that they did not go in each driveway and take a look at the potential location of poles to see if there's block view, just driving along the roadway. So they were not overly concerned, even though, there are hazards along every roadway. There are existing telephone poles on this roadway, there are trees along this roadway. All those things do create, potential hazards. But they didn't see these additional poles as being a public safety issue.
Okay. Does the board have the same concerns about these poles as they've expressed in the previous meetings?
I'm gonna throw one thing out there, and it probably can't be done, but obviously they've got poles out all over the place. They wanna do some work on them. Is there any way we could authorize replacement poles only, just to get the work
John,
started?
could you use the microphone?
Is there any way we could approve replacement poles only versus new poles, just to start the work?
I don't think we're being asked to
question.
approve the replacement poles because they're already poles that have been approved.
Oh, so
They
you can go
They can move
forward with that.
forward with any replacements that they
yes.
would want.
Correct.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Mr. Cannon, can we have a public hearing on all of these things. Can we approve some and not approve others?
I'm sure you can, but right now the request is for the 19 new poles.
Right.
Actually, the 21
19 new poles and 2 relocated poles. And if the board has concerns
Oh,
about with the placement of the 19 poles, they may have those same concerns about the poles being relocated.
And,
Is-
and Mr. Chair, I don't think the question's been asked for any of these, for the other hearings, but as well for this one. Are there any trees in the public way that are being taken down?
Not that I was aware of, but I certainly can get the answer on that.
Because if so, you need a public hearing with the tree warden, and I believe the planning board as well.
Well, I think the
A
best...
joint hearing.
I think the best thing at this point is to continue this one as well and have all 4 of these on October 21st. Ms. Weston, what time are we up to now on the 21st?
6:45.
Okay, is there a motion to continue this hearing until October 21st at 6:45?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, yes.
Could we get verification that everything's been marked, at least where the new
Yeah.
ones are going before
Yes,
we,
yes,
that we-
before
For
the
the
meeting?
next
and then-
hearing, we'll have verifications that all
and
the stakes will put out
Then
and
if
marked.
members want to drive down the roads, at least we can
Right.
see where they are,
Right.
before the
And-
next
And that
meeting.
might help the residents who live there.
Right.
Because they may not even know
Exactly
where this
they're
is going to
going.
be, a new pole, but who knows where.
And if you could just make sure that all the stakes are out and everything's marked appropriately, okay?
And one other, sorry.
Anything else?
Just following up on Selectman Hewens' point, and that is, should we have the tree warden go out and do a cursory review of all these locations just to make sure that there aren't any tree issues and
I think we should.
resolve that with planning so everything's done
Yep.
by the next meeting?
Good
Mr. Cannon,
point.
can you notify the tree warden?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Cannon, we probably should do that for all poll hearings.
Yeah, from now
We should
on.
notify the tree warden in advance.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we have a
It's-
motion and a second. I don't think we actually took a...
Especially for Meadow Street, because it is a scenic way.
Okay.
And I know you had instructed the town administrator for the tree warden to look at it, but also we should make sure that they are staked before.
Absolutely, yeah, no, we discussed that. Mr.
But I
Woods,
mean-
or whoever goes out on
Right.
the town's behalf is going to check to make
But I
sure
mean, in
they're
the
all
future,
safe.
for future,
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just
We'll get that-
I think that's
That'll be a matter of
reasonable.
course from now on.
Correct.
It's reasonable,
Yeah.
As we
As they
move
go on,
forward
they
in
can
these
look, make sure the
hearings, that'll
stakes
be
are
a...
there. Again, going into the driveways, I hate to have put one of our staff members on the spot where
Yeah,
he's
I-
deeming it to be safe and
No,
he's not gonna do something
and
happen.
some residents have issues
Yeah.
with that.
And I do believe the residents have a responsibility to come to a public hearing.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in this evening.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
didn't know if you had closed any of the other public hearings.
Well, we continued them. They've
Oh,
all
right,
been-
that-
They've all been
Motion to
continued.
Hello, thank you.
Okay. Let's see, next, we will jump to finish up our 6:30 agenda item. We have one more resident for the Economic Development Plan Committee, Ms. Blanchard. If you'd like to just step up quickly and tell us why you're interested in this committee, and if you could identify yourself for the folks at home.
Thank you. Ellen Blanchard, 238 Main Street, Carver, and I am excited to be part of the Economic Development Planning Committee. I have a vested interest in the town. I've lived here for,
Ms. Blanchard, could you just try either speak into the microphone or speak a little louder, please?
oh,
There's some conversations going out in the hall. It's a little difficult to hear.
excuse me. I am, as a resident, I am very concerned about the development of the town and how it is going, and I hope that my background in assessing and municipal government is adequate to be of value to the committee.
Well, great. Well, thank you for applying. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Ms. Blanchard to the Economic Development Plan
Second.
Committee.
You have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you for
Thank
stepping
you.
up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have discussion and vote on Chapter 61A intent to convert a portion of its land situated at 0 Indian Street for proposing a residential use, map 92, lot 1. Somehow that does sound quite white, but we've had this on our agenda a number of times at this point. We've asked the town administrator to try to identify various funding sources. We've been unable to locate any aside from the town stabilization fund.
Correct.
So I think at this point, is there a motion to decline the town's option to purchase this land?
I'll make a motion to decline the town's option to purchase.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. We have a discussion and vote on special town meeting articles and the finalization of the warrant. The first one is Article 1, unpaid bills. Mr. Ryan had some questions about the wording of that at the last meeting. Mr. Cannon, you had discussions with town council on that and verified that the wording is correct.
Correct. We had a discussion with town council and the finance director at the same time to make sure they were all comfortable with the wording and they were both signed off on the word transfer.
Okay.
So should I make a motion to reopen the vote on it?
Yeah, we took a vote, I think last time it was 4-1, because I think you felt uncomfortable. We can certainly reopen that vote if you'd like to.
All right, so I'll make a motion to re-vote Article 1.
Okay,
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
So I'll
Okay.
make a motion for the select board to recommend Article 1 for the
Okay.
unpaid bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Article 9, the non-binding referendum to sell the Carver, Marion, Wareham Regional Refuse Disposal District. Mr. Cotter.
Sure. We had another meeting with the members of the district, and I wanted to thank our other two members as we negotiated ourselves through this kind of complicated situation right now. So what we had agreed to is to sell the district, and the big question had to do with valuations, what exactly would be the total purchase price, as well as how do we ensure that members of the community have access for years to come through the recycling center. Now, we have roughly about a little over 300 residents, what we're told from Wareham, that actually use the district. So we looked at this in a couple different ways. What should the price be and what should the service be? What we settled on was the assessed value of the property, which is a fairly independent valuation of it. The agreement states that if we were to sell the district, we need to get 2 appraisals. They got 3, and the third was somewhat larger than the first 2 appraisals. But the first 2 appraisals averaged about $665,000. So the assessed value for the land there is about $753,000. So we agreed that that's a fair price for the land in and of itself. The next has to do with cash. What cash is on hand that the district has that would have to be liquidated as well. And right now, these numbers will move because if this transition was ever to happen, it has to go through the state legislature, and we could be looking at 6 months or a year away. But right now, there's about $1.2 million sitting in cash. Now, part of that would have to be put as a reserve against I think we have 1 retiree in play. So there might be a little bit of reduction in that number, but it should be somewhere around $1 million. So total value would be $1.7 million, roughly. And based on the calculation that's in the agreement, it takes, our allocation will be about 28% of that number would come to the town, which is somewhere close to $500,000 by the time all is said and done. So one thing is that when it's dissolved, the town of Carver will get $500,000 approximately. The second would be the service agreement that would be in place. What Wareham offered, the original offer was a 10-year agreement. They wanted to increase the markup to 15% of what Wareham residents pay, and they wanted to have a 60-day termination agreement should they decide not to run any longer. What we negotiated was a longer agreement, 15 years, with an automatic 5-year renewal. So it would get 20 years of service for the residents. We held them to the current markup price, which is 12% instead of 15%. And we did agree on a 60-day termination only if if they're ending it and it's being ended for both Wareham and Carver residents. Okay.
And that's just, that 60 days is in case they have to shut down
Yes.
the landfill for everybody, not just Carver.
Everybody. So there's also some other benefits associated with this, and that is, I think I mentioned earlier, is that there's 2 liabilities associated with this district. One is the actual landfill in South Carver that has multiple insurance policies on it, but if there was ever an issue there, both Carver, Marion, and Wareham have responsibilities, but there are late insurance policies that should hopefully require no out-of-pocket costs for the towns. There's also a liability on the recycling center itself if there was some kind of, 21E issue, a spill, things of that nature. That would go away once this deal is in place. There's also, to the town itself, there'll be no assessments to the town. The prior agreement stated that if there was a shortfall, then the district could assess the various towns in it to make up any kind of shortfall for an operating expense. That can't happen any longer. There's also part of the agreement, if future members of the district, I don't know, 3-5 years from now, decide they want to go big and they want to do $1 million renovation, the district can vote it as long as 4 of the 6 members agree. They can send a request right to town meeting to assess the town some kind of debt schedule to be able to pay this. That now goes away. So basically, we get some money, we get a long-term agreement with Wareham for the 310 residents to use the facility and to keep the markup price capped at what they're paying right now. So overall, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Yep. And I would just say, I was on that committee as well, and I agree. I think Mr. Carter worked extremely hard on this, and they had originally proposed a 60-day cancellation period, and I was pretty vocal in being against that, and it seems like this has worked out. So I think it's a pretty good deal for the town here, but I'll open it up to the board. Ms. Hewens.
So, Mr. Carter, if I hear you right, just for simplicity's sake, that means Carver residents will still be able to use it for the next 15 years, plus
Plus 5.
plus 5
At Carver's discretion.
at Carver's discretion. Gotcha. And what's the other thing? And I guess the cost, we'll be getting $500,000.
Yes, that would be once it's fully liquidated. That would take, who knows, 6 months, a year for it to go through the whole process with the state.
Okay.
And it's approximately $500,000.
Approximately
That's not.
And the cost of the stickers, shall we say, can only go up to 12%?
12%. It's what it's at right now.
Okay.
12% of what Wareham residents
Thank
pay.
you, Mr. Carter. That's a great agreement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Mr.
So it's built in not to go up every year, this is it, this fee?
It goes up, it's always 12% above what Wareham pays. So if
Okay.
Wareham raises the price for Wareham residents,
Gotcha.
then Carver's price would go up. It's 12% above whatever Wareham
Market,
residents
it'll
pay.
be
But at least it's not 15%.
Right, exactly.
Right, because I know a lot of people were concerned about that the price would go up dramatically, but.
We tried to get it to go down, but they wouldn't do that.
Well, at least it didn't go up, so that's good.
Good
Do we need a
job.
motion
Yeah.
on it? Do we have to take
Yes,
a motion to
I think
recommend?
we need a motion to put this on the warrant.
All right, so I'll make a motion to put Article 9 on the warrant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous, thank you. Is there a motion to recommend Article 9?
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 9.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous, thank you.
Good job. From the Carver crew there.
Yeah.
It was a team effort.
Article 10 is a non-binding referendum to dissolve the Carver, Marion, Wareham Regional Refuse Disposal District Committee. Mr. Carter.
Well, again, I think I kind of spoke a little bit about it. Other than financial issues, it just it still allows us to provide a service to all the residents that use it right now, and additional residents that want to use it, and it reduces our liability quite substantially down the road. So I would recommend that we dissolve the district.
So I'll make a motion to put Article 10 on the warrant.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
So I have a quick question. So by dissolving the committee, does that mean Carver doesn't have representation any longer?
No representation.
Okay.
No representation.
What was your answer? I'm
No
sorry.
representation any longer.
Okay.
There's no
We're a
district
customer.
anymore.
Yeah, we're a customer, yeah.
Yep.
But they can't get out of that first agreement?
Nope.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous, thank you.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 10.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. I guess the one thing we should say, Mr. Carter, is we've negotiated this. I don't believe the town of Wareham has approved it yet.
No, but I guess the way the whole, there was a lot of, I guess, independence in this district where basically the members of the committee could decide it and not go to a town meeting.
That's right.
So the 3 members from Wareham have committed to this agreement.
Yeah, and can you add anything to that, Mr. Carter? I know you and the Wareham Town Administrator have been going back and forth on this.
Correct, that's all I can say, Mr. Chairman. We have been going back and forth. We don't have a signed agreement yet. I always wait till I have the signed agreement, but in principle, I think we have an agreement.
And you can update us once we have something
Yes.
signed. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Town Administrator update. Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a lot on the agenda. Just to let the board know, the COA Beach parking lot, the paving has been completed. You get a chance to go down there. I think it came out very nicely. They still have to stripe it. There's been a contract in the process of being awarded for the striping. So I think that'll greatly increase the parking at the beach parking lot, because before it was just kind of a wide open, I'd call it even a gravel lot. So I think it'll help greatly to have just some striping down there. Just so the folks at home know, we do have a special town meeting coming up on October 7th. We are preparing for an overflow crowd just in case it does happen. There'll be extra seating in the cafe. We will have an assistant town moderator to be in there, to be appointed, an assistant town clerk in there. In the cafe, they'll have to vote with the cards. There'll be counters there for, to count the cards out there. And there'll also be questions. We plan on having a large screen TV in the cafe and a large screen TV in the auditorium. And I believe connected through Zoom, so if anybody has a question in either room, the other participants will be able to hear it. So just so you know, we are preparing for an overflow crowd, just in case that does happen in a special town meeting. The last thing I have for you tonight is, unfortunately, the library will be closed again tomorrow because of these skylights. I believe my house is 33 years old. I still remember somebody telling me not to put skylights into my house. I think that's very good advice. I'm just going to leave it there. The library will be closed tomorrow, unfortunately.
All right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any idea when it'll be open, reopen?
It should be open on Thursday. Hopefully the work will be completed tomorrow.
Thank you. Let's see, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. There are none. We have a request to use town-owned property, the gazebo, on November 4th, 2025, from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. from the Salvation Army Corps and Community Center. I think this is their annual event. Am I correct, Mr. Cannon?
Yes, it is their kickoff event.
All right. Is there
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. We have the approval of the minutes of September 2nd, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 2nd, 2025.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. The minutes of September 9th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 9th, 2025.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. We have the approval of the executive session minutes of September 2nd, 2025 for release subject to redactions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And finally, we have the executive session minutes of September 9th, 2025 for approval and not to release.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Select Board announcements. Ms. Hewin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to remind people that the organization Carver Cares is having a remembrance by candlelight, honoring the lives of those we have lost due to an overdose. And that date is September 25th, 6 to 8 p.m. in Shirtlift Park. Rain location to be announced. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoffman.
I just want to remind everybody, as part of September Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, that the South Shore Action for Hope is having a cornhole tournament this weekend. Even if you aren't participating, there'll be plenty of raffles and food, so please stop by. That's at the VFW in Plymouth from 12 o'clock on.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Carter.
No comments.
All right. Mr. Ryan.
Just remind people of the farmer's market on Sundays and wish the chair a good vacation, and we'll have to have an agenda item and a presentation when he returns.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ryan. And finally, just a couple of things. First of all, the Union Church is sponsoring an Evening at Sea on Saturday, September 27th at 6 o'clock. It sounds like a really interesting event, so I hope you have a chance to attend. And just please make sure you put special town meeting on your calendar for October 7th. There are a number of important things on this town meeting, so please try and attend. So at this point, let's see. I think what we're going to do now is going to have a brief adjournment, and we'll be back shortly joined with the Finance Committee for a number of items, starting off with a presentation from Aaron Polanski of the Old Colony Regional Vocational Technical High School on their new building project. We are adjourned. We are in recess. All right, good evening. I'll call the meeting back to order. Next item on our agenda is a joint meeting with the Carver Finance Committee for an update from Aaron Polanski of Old Colony Regional Vocational Technical High School on their building project. Before we get into the meeting, Mr. Mahar, would you like to call your meeting to order? Or are you already in order, right? You already had a meeting existing.
We are in order.
All right.
So we're just kind of in a recess to
Well,
come
would you like
visit-
to come back out of recess?
come visit you guys. Okay, so we'll come out of
come in for
recess.
recess.
and
All right.
We're here.
All right.
Good.
Mr. Polanski, I'll turn the meeting over to you and your group.
Before we begin, I just wanted to introduce Shirley Burke. She is our school building committee chair, and so I'll let Shirley
You
open.
might want to use the microphone.
Yes, please do use the microphone.
As Aaron said, my name is Shirley Burke. I am a Old Colony School Committee member from the town of Rochester, and I am currently serving as the chair of the School Building Committee. I wanted to start the meeting today so that I could thank both the Select Board and the FinCom for giving us this opportunity to make a presentation. I also want to recognize the Carver representatives to the Building Committee, Selectman Townsend, Elizabeth, and Maureen were all members of that Building Committee. The committee was and is a wonderful group, working very cohesively and collaboratively. The work is not easy, as you can well imagine, when you're talking about something the scope and magnitude of what we're looking to do. But I think that everybody has taken their job very seriously. They have been looking for what is best for the Old Colony School District, never abandoning their fiduciary responsibilities to the towns they represent. So I just wanted to let you lay that groundwork for you, let you know that what we come here with is a thoughtful decision. It is a difficult decision to listen to because of obviously the cost of what it implies. But if not now, when? Becomes the motto for us. It, again, is a well thought out, and you will hear throughout the presentation the steps that were taken. The presentation will address the issues of why we're doing it, how the work that the architect has come up with will address those issues that we've identified, and finally, PMA will walk you through the financing of it. There will be a question and answer period at the end of it. And that's my contribution for the evening. I am going to let these learned people take us. Walt Hartley is from PMA. He will begin the discussion of where we are.
Great, thank you, Shirley.
And if you could just make sure you speak into the microphone, okay? Just maybe bring the microphone a little closer.
Yep. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Walter Hartley with PMA Consultants. I am also a resident of the town of Rochester and the OPM for the project. So I'll give everyone an update on where we are and kind of where we've been in the project with Old Colony. Old Colony had been submitting for many years their statement of interest, similar, not so different to the Carver Elementary School, to the MSBA program and the MSBA pipeline, ultimately getting selected into eligibility in early 2021. So you can see that we've been working on this project, or Old Colony's been working on this project for almost 4 years at this point in time. The MSBA has a very prescriptive eight module program that we work through, ultimately bringing the team on, the OPM, the designer, HMFH, both hired in 2024 to perform the feasibility study and the schematic design for the program. During the feasibility study, you're going to hear a lot about this information that Aaron will present, but really the main goals of the feasibility study are to study as many options as we can, define the educational program, which helps to shape the designing of the school, culminating in a selection of a ultimate solution to bring through the schematic design process to bring to the MSBA board. That program and that decision submission was made to the MSBA on August 28th. We anticipate a board of directors approval on October 29th, ultimately locking in the MSBA project scope and budget agreement, which would guarantee the funding to move forward pending a successful vote. Right now, we are waiting for formal comments back on the schematic design submission. We've been going back and forth with the MSBA on our project scope and budget negotiations. We are working towards settling that final meeting with them and ultimately having that final grant discussion with them and having it finalized for the board. Finally, we are at the point where we are working on our community outreach for the funding of the project. Obviously, we don't want to start that process too soon. We don't have those final numbers locked in. We want to make sure that we can present factual information that we are very positive about, and we want to be able to answer the questions that the community has. So we're working towards a November 18th vote. Outside of that and past that, pending a successful vote, we would look to a detailed design period of about a year, about a few months of bidding, 2 years of construction, maybe about 6 months of demolition, and then about a year and a half after that, ultimately closing out the project. We have some slides on that after, but really just want to bring everyone up to speed on the work that's been done, the process with the MSBA, and I will turn it over to Aaron to bring you up to date on Old Colony.
Thank you, Walt.
It's just clicking through there.
Sure. Just real quickly, we wanted to share that Old Colony is more than a school. We're a partner in service. We're a resource for workforce solutions and a destination for our community-centered outreach that really benefits all generations. Over the years, Old Colony has proudly supported our communities through projects such as building COA sheds in Acushnet and Rochester, installing electric car charging stations for the town of Acushnet, constructing the Carver gazebo, and most recently the Carver Junior Senior High School concession stand, reconstructing Loon Pond Lodge and enhancements at Ted Williams Camp in Lakeville, along with town offices, renovating the American Legion, Holy Ghost Grounds, and Dunseth Gardens in Mattapoisett, and supporting Plum Library in the upcoming Rochester COA addition. We've also constructed conference tables at our fire stations throughout a majority of our member towns. We are looking to add plumbing, HVAC, and dental assisting to our programming. With the addition of plumbing and HVAC, we become a fully operational construction program, and that allows us to contribute in a greater capacity to all of our member towns. We're very proud of the work that our students do. When you said November 4th gazebo today at your meeting earlier, I got a smile on my face. I turned to Walt and I said, I think we built that gazebo. That feels good. We want tonight to make sure that folks understand the current state of Old Colony. The building is 50 years old. I will be 50 years old on October 1st, and I share a birthday with the school. We're going to provide an in-depth overview of our current state and future plans. We'll provide an overview and timeline as it pertains to the MSBA grant program, and we will answer questions pertaining to our vision moving forward. Our goal is to protect the investment of our 5 member towns, and as Shirley said, if not now, when, becomes the ongoing question. Old Colony is certainly at the end of its useful life. As I said, the doors opened in 1975, and we are looking at an existing footprint that is the same as 1975. Our systems have surpassed their useful life. Much of our capital work has been put off because we knew we were in the midst of a pipeline for the MSBA, and to do anything prematurely would have been lack of fiduciary responsibility on behalf of our taxpayers. We wanted to make sure that our investments are for the long term and nothing that would have been taken out if a building project is to pass. Our hope to expand at plumbing, HVAC, and dental is very much aligned with labor market needs. If you talk to people in the industry, they will tell you how difficult it is to find HVAC, plumbing, and dental professionals at this point in time. So this was a very calculated, data-based decision. The demand for Old Colony education has been high for some time now. We get about 300 to 350 applications a year for 150 slots. That's very significant. However, what we want you to know is that in making a decision about future enrollment, and Chair Townsend played a major part in this, we absolutely took into consideration the impact of an enrollment on our member towns. And so instead of going to a capacity, a maximum capacity, a decision was made to scale back and really look at a number of 776 instead of something that exceeded 800. So I do want to share that with folks. Our facility and department maintenance upgrades include the installation of security doors, 40 closed caption TV cameras as part of a system, access control system, retrofitted interior and exterior lighting, the replacement of all overhead doors, an addition to our welding shop in 1986, and upgrades to our septic system in 1991. I will also share that in approximately 2013-2014, we had a roof project where we addressed some of our HVAC issues. Our facilities department and maintenance upgrades include a grant-funded installation of new security doors and the additional cameras that were mentioned. Again, this was grant-funded by the state. We did a 2019 overhaul of our lobby. It used to be a brick-layered lobby that matched the exterior of the building. At a young age, I asked my son what he thought of Old Colony. He said, "Dad, I feel like I'm walking into a Brady Bunch building. You could use some updates." We felt that updates throughout the building were not a possibility at the early stage. However, our carpentry program, electrical program, welding program, graphic design program, and a few others contributed to the redesign and overhaul of our lobby. So what you're looking at in that big picture is the work done by students, and on the left-hand side is the older version of the lobby, pre-design. This was also grant-funded and completely student-built. Some of our space, we'll go over some of the issues that we've dealt with in terms of infrastructure. In our electronics engineering classroom, there's no storage. Workspace is limited. We have a small shared space for 2 grades, and the square footage for 2 classes is inadequate. It's actually below the standard for a single class. Machine and tool technology, we have a very congested area with the same machines that were introduced to our students at the inception of Old Colony. Those machines are absolutely in need of upgrade. This is just a snapshot of the state minimum per pupil in square feet for classrooms across Old Colony. In red, you'll see every Old Colony space, and if it's in red, it means it falls short of the state minimum standard, which means all of our classrooms fall short of the state minimum standard in terms of space. The existing condition that you see at the top is an office that was constructed from a former closet. The door goes into a back closet that used to be a full storage area, but because of a lack of space, we turned it into an office. Our school psychologist and SRO both have offices and closets on the back of the stage. Our academic director is in a former closet. Our vocational director is in a former closet. And so it's very important for us to share with you that we're making the most of the infrastructure we have, but that the areas that you see when you tour our building are very much transformed with what we have. Our athletic trainer is in the back of our state-of-the-art fitness room that you see in the bottom picture. That fitness room is for 562 students. When I say state-of-the-art, I say that jokingly. It's a very small space. Unfortunately, it's what we make do with. And in the back is where our trainer works out of. These are sinks. The sink drain on the left was disconnected because we had a leak behind the masonry. Grease traps and fasteners have rotted to a point where they no longer seal. Silicone is used to prevent water leakage. A floor drain in culinary is now blocked off. It's one of several inoperable drains in the building. We recently ran a snake through that drain and pulled dirt out, which tells us that the under workings of the floor are actually rotted out. In order to fix that, it requires the jackhammering of floors, which would be a much bigger project than we're willing to get into. The infrastructure, basically, for people who would tour, on the outside it may look good, on the inside, or the skeleton of the building is failing. These are our existing conditions as they pertain to plumbing and water supply. The water for the building is supplied by a single well. We have no water redundancy or fire protection. If that well were to be compromised, we would be without water until a repair. This is our water storage tank. At the time of feasibility, we created this slide to inform member towns. Some of you have seen some of these slides before. That water tank is now 50 years old, and we've held off in terms of a commitment to replace it only because if we were to replace it, we want to make sure that we're replacing it for the right reasons. Should a vote pass on November 18th, obviously it would be the right decision. If a vote does not pass on November 18th, these are the type of capital expenses that we'll need to explore, and they're real. They total about $134 million when all is said and done to bring this facility up to ADA compliance, appropriate protections, and all of the corrections that need to take place. These are bathrooms that are not ADA accessible. We also have disparities in terms of where our young ladies have access to a bathroom and where our young men have access because of the way the building has been constructed. Our gym floor is lifting and is glued down annually. This impacts gameplay and certainly poses a risk of injury. The gym floor is in need of a complete replacement. These are epoxy floors that are separated and repaired as budget monies allow. It's an ongoing issue. Patches are shown in photos on the left and the right, just to give you an idea of the work that we've tried to take care of on our own, independent of a project of a bigger scale. This is carpeting in our academic areas. The library has been replaced, the hallways have not. This is something we will probably take care of regardless because it just needs to be done. It becomes a tripping hazard for students. Our existing HVAC controls are not appropriate for the shops that they currently service. You can imagine that graphic arts used to be screen printing, and so the HVAC was not as much of an issue. With the change in the way graphic arts and our design programs have evolved, the equipment has also evolved. That requires a different HVAC system. Our machine and tool, HVAC, and head end room are not what they need to be in terms of temperature regulation. Our server room was at one point a closet. We've since transformed that and put our servers online for two reasons. One is for security, and the second is because the HVAC system in that space certainly did not serve us the right way. Existing conditions on the driveways and sidewalks are very evident when you look at them with the naked eye. We have asphalt and paving issues. Curbing was replaced in 2018 because we were worried about tripping hazards, but to overhaul an entire asphalt space is a very significant replacement cost, and we have not delved into that because we feel as though it's important to hold off and see where things take us. These are aluminum double pane windows. You can see from the condensation on the windows that the panes are failing. Our doors are original to the building, and thresholds and frames are problematic and require frequent repair. We've got issues with masonry that can result in cracking and an integrity issue, also leaks and water infiltration. And our parking is insufficient. We have issues with accessibility, and we also have drainage issues, which sometimes result in flooding of up to 10 inches in the lots. We have been tracking our enrollment for some time now. This is a program called Go-To Solutions, and it shows you basically 10 years of data and the applications that we've received. When you look at the beginning of the curve, that is the beginning of each school year, and you can see a very significant and consistent trend of applications that typically peak around February and then have a short spike right before the school year when kids change their mind and look to apply last minute with hopes of it perhaps a late admission. But typically, what you see over the course of this data is that we're consistently over the 300 application mark for 150 slots. And even with the departure of Freetown, because they were a non-member and we had to serve our members first, they made a decision to seek membership at Bristol Plymouth. Our applications were not even slightly impacted. You can see the trend continued and stayed above 300. And so that's with a 1975 building and no glitz and glam. And I say that in the most polite way, but I'll share with you that recently I was dropping my son off. He's a freshman at Bristol Plymouth. And I called Chad because we had a meeting that evening, and I said to Chad, just a quick question about tonight's meeting, and he said, are you in the car? Because it sounds different when you're talking from a phone in the car. I said, yes, I'm dropping my son off at school. And he said, well, we're at Bristol Plymouth right now. Would you like a tour? And I said, I would love a tour. And he said, well, pull around to the construction trailers and I'll take you inside. And we walked inside the project. And I had a couple of thoughts. And one is, my son will get to experience this. And I remember the old Bristol Plymouth because I've been inside it. And I got the chills, and I was extremely proud that he would have this opportunity. And then I had this huge piece of fear that took over a little bit, and I felt jealous because I want this for our Old Colony students too. And I don't know if it's fear or jealousy or if it's just that for 4 years we've been working diligently to make the best decisions we possibly can and provide these same opportunities for our students in our 5-member towns. And when you look at the trends in vocational education, I was the principal at Bristol Aggie and helped to write the statement of interest for them. And I've seen what it's done for Bristol Aggie. It's a beautiful transformation. And then I look at Northeast Metro, Franklin County Tech, Diamond Regional, which is close to us, South Shore Vote, which just had a 70+% approval rating for their building, Tri-County Regional in Franklin, and Bristol Plymouth. And our hope is that we can keep up with these folks and provide our students with these same opportunities. We know that what we're asking is a significant ask. We also know that there's a reciprocity that exists in vocational education. And our goal is to not only provide the best education possible for our students, but to also provide the best service possible to our communities. Our students are oftentimes people who come back to their communities and give back. And so this investment is an investment in our students, it's an investment in industry, it's an investment in our communities, and it's an investment in the future of vocational education. And our goal at Old Colony is to be the crown jewel of vocational education. So I'd like to take just this opportunity to thank you for having us and for giving us the opportunity to share this presentation. We understand that resources are finite, and we've done everything in our power to ensure that we can be the most responsible project that comes to the Commonwealth while we're in the pipeline. And Tina is one of our architects, Tina Stanislawski from HMFH, and she'll talk a little bit about design, and then we'll turn it over to Chad, who will talk about numbers.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. So we started this project by doing a deep dive into the educational vision of the school. We met with the educators, the administration, students, parents, community members to think about what is important to educational delivery for this school and how that might change in the future. From that visioning session that we had, and we had multiple, we had a set of educational and facility goals come out of that. I'm not going to read all of them to you here, but they include minimizing ongoing operational costs, construction that will not disrupt teaching and learning. That's important because it's difficult to renovate a vocational school because you can't really find swing space for your shops very easily. We wanted to design for resiliency and for future expansion. And we wanted to think about how the vocational shops interact with the academic classrooms, and we'll show you how that lays out in this new building. So we've talked a little bit about the different options that we looked at during the feasibility study, and we had multiple enrollments to try to find the right size fit that would be best for the programs, but also not tax the community with additional money that was needed for this larger school. So the 560 is what they have now. That would be a no-growth base repair program where we look at just fixing what's wrong with the school today and bringing it up to code. The next one would be a 620 enrollment, and that would basically right-size the school so that they had enough academic classrooms to support their shops. Right now, they don't have enough classroom space to do that. The next three were adding vocational programs. You heard the superintendent talk about adding HVAC and plumbing to complete the construction cluster. That would be 728. And then 776 would also add dental assisting. The 810 option would also add biotech. And through the feasibility study, it was determined that completing the construction cluster and adding dental for equity within the building was the way to go. We also looked at the sustainability of this new building, and we held multiple workshops on that. And sustainability means that we want this building to be resilient and sustainable for the future, to have healthy materials in it for the students and educators, to really take care of the water and the water supply, to reduce global warming by reducing the carbon in the building, and also to think about how much daylight we can get into the new building, especially in some of the big shops, to cut down on our electrical use. We took all of these goals, both facility and educational, and all of the different options that we looked at, and I think it was in the 47 options in feasibility study, and we weighed them against the goals to determine which was best fit. This chart sort of helped people recognize which of the options seemed to rise to the top. Talk a little bit about the site that they have. It's a very large site and it's beautiful, but there are some constraints on it. The orange dash line is a gas line that runs across the site right through where you come in off of North Ave. The purple circles are talking about the well that's there now and the limitations you have with building within those circles if you're going to keep the well. There's also some vernal pools and wetlands. You can see those in blue. And then there's also the historic burial ground on the site. So we have a lot of site, but we had a difficult time finding the best spot. And ultimately, it was decided to build the new building between the existing building and the vernal pools. This is a final shot of how it will look. And this is a little bit of a deeper dive. The pink footprint is the existing school. The white is the new building. The wetlands are behind the new building, and then you'll see the fields. It was determined that if we could save the existing fields and not build on them, that it would save the project a good amount of money. And so this is the way we decided to go. This allows the new building to be built while the existing building is in operation. So the main entrance stays where it is today off of North Ave. We're also creating another entrance further down on North Ave so that you have two ways in and out of the site for security and safety. It will also give better access to the fields in case of an emergency and some additional parking closer to the fields. We've also created an area in the front around the parking for the parents to drop off, and then the buses will go along the back side of the building. It's a little bit difficult to see in this, but we'll look at it in the floor plans. Right out in front, the cosmetology and culinary programs, as well as automotive, will be featured and easy to find in this building. There'll be visitor parking close to them and easy access because those are really great programs for the community to use. This is an axon of the final building, and you can see on the left-hand side of the building, there's like a lighter gray block. That's where the culinary restaurant will be. Cosmetology will be adjacent to it. And then on the right-hand side at the end with the sloped roof, that will be automotive. Behind automotive, there'll be a cluster of workspace for the students to work together. So all of the construction cluster will have access to that, as well as machine and tool, and that'll be a great work yard for them. This is just a shot of the building from the backside, looking at more of the classrooms from where the vernal pools are. And these are the plans. One of the things that was important in the building was to organize the shops in the clusters that they are. And those clusters help to provide synergy between programs. So you can see on the main entrance is marked by the arrows. To the right of that is the administration. And then the wing closest to that has machine and tool, metal fab, and automotive. The wing above that is the construction wing, which has HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and carpentry. Again, those all share that work yard in between them. And you'll notice that the classrooms are adjacent to the shops in this building. And the hope was that the students would have, cross-pollination between the shops, the hands-on learning, and what they're learning in their academic classes. And there would be more opportunity for teachers to work together. Next to those classrooms, you'll see a music classroom, which will be new. The science labs will be all clustered in the center of the building on 2 floors. The auditorium is adjacent to those, and the cafeteria. This will be a real student hub and community hub for everyone. The gym is off of that. And then again, you'll see cosmetology, culinary, and business with the school store. This building actually has 2 stories. On the upper floor, we have the health careers and the dental and health next to the gym. And then we have graphics, computer science, architecture, engineering, and electronics next to the media center. And again, more classrooms looking down into that construction cluster. And this is just a shot from the entrance, the main entrance looking in. And now I'm going to turn it over to Chad for PMA.
Thank you, Tina. So let's talk a little bit about cost. My name is Chad Crittenden with PMA, also a resident of the Old Colony member communities. So the chart that you see up on the screen here is something that you'll find right on the MSBA's landing page. Each one of those little dots and blips on that chart represents a K-12 project that has been constructed in Massachusetts since really the MSBA's inception back around 2007. So some familiar projects up there that are highlighted. PMA and HMFH have a long history of working together, including right up the street on Carver's Elementary School. So during that history of working together, we have consistently redefined what a school could and should cost in the MSBA's pipeline, and we plan on doing the same thing here with Old Colony. So if you pan over to the right side, you'll see that yellow clouded rectangle there. So Old Colony, as presented, is the most cost-effective project that is moving through the MSBA pipeline in that cycle of projects. Costs do go up year after year. It's unfortunate, it's inevitable. I think 10 years ago we were sitting here in the same room talking about what the elementary school up the street could have cost 10 years in the future. Sure enough, I mean, this graph here tells the picture. Unbelievable, but that school in today's dollars is probably almost 3 times what it cost back then. So a trend that is not going to be fixed until the vocational education and trades workforce issues are addressed in the Commonwealth. The other big challenge here you see, and similar to up the street, the MSBA cost cap, that green line that you see jumps each year. So they currently cap costs at $645 a square foot. None of the projects in the pipeline are coming in at $645 a square foot. So that means every project inevitably is going to have some component that is over the MSBA eligible reimbursement cap. So reimbursement rate for Old Colony is 60.49%, but that's of eligible costs. So anything that's over that cap falls back 100% of the district, and that's why it's important for us to be the most cost-effective project that we possibly can to get as close to that cap as we can, because every dollar saved comes off the district's bottom line. So looking at a handful of other similar projects that are moving through at the same time. So this is really just targeting those large, primarily vocational projects. The last time we saw a project target the cost that Old Colony is shooting for was over 2 years ago. It was Tri-County up at the top of that list. You have $829 a square foot, which is where Old Colony is going to be when they go to the MSBA on October 29th. So other schools that are moving through the pipeline: North Attleboro over 1,000 a square foot, Lexington over 1,000 a square foot, Berkshire Hills approaching 1,000 a square foot. So we really have trimmed this project down. I mean, the building size is driven by MSBA and DUSTI guidelines. So we're locked into those. All we can do from there is build the most cost-effective building we possibly can that meets MSBA and DESI's guidelines and requirements. And we believe that's what we are putting forward to the MSBA at this time. So what that means on a total project cost is almost $289 million. MSBA reimbursement, once you play it through their formulas, is just shy of $130 million, which leaves the balance to be split amongst the districts based upon the regional agreement. So that district shares around $159 million estimated. So we are going through that negotiation right now with the MSBA. These numbers are generally accurate to certainly within 1%, but that's what we anticipate. So some key takeaways there in that reimbursement rate. The base rate is really just calculated based on the state's Department of Revenue database. Whole bunch of different metrics. Again, same thing that Carver Elementary was calculated based upon. There are incentive points. Old Colony is shooting for 5.7 incentive points. So one of those incentives is for maintenance. So maintenance incentive, they give you between 0 and 2 points. Old Colony did receive on the higher end of that maintenance incentive. And that's credit to the team over there, and especially the facilities team and what they've done to really maintain that 50-year-old building. They're also going after energy efficiency incentives worth another 4 incentive points. That translates to, I think, it's $6.8 million. So we did do a cost-benefit analysis. The cost to get that incentive is less than what the incentive is worth, so we're certainly going to go ahead and pursue that. Apologies, getting over a cold. All right, so the graph that you see here is the finalist options as we moved in the preferred solution selection. So the MSBA requires that we study the renovation and repair scenario of that existing building really right through the funding vote, which is now. So we've carried that cost. It's gone to the independent estimators. The engineers go through and they do a thorough building analysis and assessment. They produce their independent estimates. This is all available on the project website. Where that lands is $134.4 million to repair that existing building. Keep in mind that existing building, 1975, one of the first couple slides you saw was the plaque that's outside that building. The first name on that plaque is Irwin K. Washburn. It is a replica, essentially, of the elementary school up the street that we took down almost 10 years ago. That building was not meant to last 50 years. They have modular, movable walls inside there, just like the Washburn School had up the street. So that is really what we're up against inside of that building. The next 2 bars, as you move from the left side of the screen, are the addition renovation options. So the darker bottom half of the shaded bar is what the district share is in each of these when we play it through the MSBA's formulas. And then the top lighter portion is what the projected grant from the MSBA might look like for each one of those scenarios. So the MSBA does require us to study addition renovations. We did do that. These are the 2 finalist options that were studied. Moving into the right bank of bars, these are the new construction options of various sizes and enrollments and programs. The one that is highlighted in Old Colony's color, the gold there, is where the preferred solution landed. So that is the solution that Tina just ran through, that site plan and those building floor plans. You will notice that number there is different for district share, the $147.9 million. And the reason for that is because of those 4 MSBA incentive points, the project would also be eligible for Mass Save credits, rebates. So IRA 2022 components that survived through the OBBBA amendments in July are also a component there. So the engineers have that right now estimated at more than $11 million. So when you combine those 2 numbers together, the 147.9 and the 11 million, that smaller bar, you get back to that $159 million district share. Breaking down those credits a little bit more. So you see the MSBA 3%, apologies, I misspoke, it's 6.418, not 6.8 for the 3%, but there is another 1% on top of that for indoor air quality, so that does make up that delta. Mass Save there for option 2 for the HVAC system that was selected, which is ground source. Mass Save rebate comes in at over $3 million, and then the IRA 2022 OBBBA over $8 million. So that Those two items there get you that $11 million incentive. The MSBA piece is built into that almost $130 million grant calculation. So system highlights that get us there, that includes 1.25 megawatts of solar. And that's up on the roof of the new building, and that does get them back to essentially energy neutral from where they are today to avoid any increase in energy costs that would normally be associated with the new building. There's also a full ground source geothermal system for heating and cooling, estimated 200 wells, 650-foot geothermal wells, and these are closed loop systems, so you're not pushing water into the ground or taking water out of the ground, you're just pushing water in a closed sealed pipe in a closed loop back to the mechanical system. All of that is fed back to a 750-ton ground source heat pump module. There is energy recovery at the RTUs, which is pretty standard in these buildings, and then the backup systems would be via backup electric boiler. So moving on into what is it going to cost each member district. Slices of pie are kind of different on the screen from what they usually come up as, but that's all right. So the way that the regional agreement reads is that the apportionment of capital costs are recalculated annual, so the principal and interest payment for that year is based upon that year's enrollment. So the FY26 enrollment data is used to populate this pie chart right here. That makes up 90% of that pie. The other 10% is foundation enrollment, so it's each community's K through 12 enrollment. So in Carver's case, just purely based on FY26 enrollment data, you're about 9% of the Old Colony population. And if we were to carry that 9% into what the project cost is, it translates to a Carver share of approximately $26.3 million. So now we have the budget, we have a schedule, we have a solution. We can take all these things and put them together and generate a cash flow projection. So we can cost load our schedule, and we can drop it into those MSBA formulas and understand what is eligible for MSBA reimbursement and when those particular components of the project or the building would be put into the ground, in effect. MSBA does reimburse monthly, so one important piece of all this is making sure that the district does not borrow more money than it needs to carry the project through at any point in time. You don't want to incur interest costs and borrow 100% right out of the gate. You want to step up your borrowing so you're not paying interest charges on funds that you may not need for another 2 years into the project. So the district worked with their financial advisor, which is Unibank in this case. Based on this information, Unibank develops a ban and bonding scenario. So they run some assumptions. In Old Colony's case, they carried a 30-year at 4%. Once we have that, we understand what the annual principal and interest is based upon those borrowing needs. We can break it down based upon each of the 5 member communities and their FY26 enrollment, which is the latest and greatest information that we have. All the information that drives this data is right from the DLS database, so tax levies, tax rates, single-family homes, all come right from those links below. In Carver's case, the average 2025 single-family home is valued at $517,364. For a new build, the estimated rate impact for Carver is 62 cents per thousand of assessed. And then the repair impact is 52 cents. So if you were to take that 134 million versus in this case, we're running it on the $159 million, that is what you would find at the end. So on the green glowing box on the right side, you see the quarterly impact for a new build in Carver, $80.19 for the average single family home. A few important things to understand on this, as I just said, this is based upon spending $159 million district share. So that's spending every penny, every dollar that's in that budget. There's $17 million worth of contingencies in this project. So the goal is never to spend all those contingencies. We also know right out of the gate that we're targeting $11 million for Mass Save and IRA 2022 rebates. So what we're showing here is what we believe to be a worst case scenario. It's based upon that 4%. So historically, districts don't end up spending every dollar of their projects. The school up the street, I think, came in around 10% under. Since then, a school has opened up in Wareham. When we presented to Wareham, the district share projection was $40 million. They landed at $25 million. So that's a major savings. Bristol Plymouth Tech, a few years ago when we were having this presentation and discussion with them, and they had that big decision to make, the number that we ran the tax impacts was $179 million. As soon as we opened bids, that number came down by almost $40 million. So, I mean, these are intended to be worst case. We want full transparency. This is, hey, Mass Save goes away, IRA goes away. We still move forward with the project once it's funded. We never hope to actually be at these numbers. We never hope to actually spend every dollar. We hope to bring back a savings. That's how we keep going on to the next project and keep moving through the MSBA pipeline from school to school. So scheduling next steps, I'll turn it back to Walter Hartley, and then we'll open up to any questions.
Thank you, Chad. So we've been meeting pretty regularly since early this year with the town administrators, town clerks, tax collectors, in order to really identify the best solution and really the timeline and mapping it out so that everyone in the districts knew when the anticipated potential vote would be. With that being said, we met with that group on March 11th. We met with that group again on April 15th and really identified that the Old Colony School Committee was going to move forward with that district-wide vote and let them know. I believe that vote happened over the summer, and all of the towns were made aware of that when that occurred. We've since been working through finalizing language with them and moving towards that. And as I mentioned early on, we don't want to start the community outreach efforts without all of the information. We know that the cost is the most important thing. That information was really finalized in late August. So once we have that information, we want to be able to provide all of that information, make it available to the communities, and allow people to ask questions. So we're going to be working through the next 8 weeks and be in your communities, and you'll see a few slides on that. But really, this is just a roadmap to the election date of November 18th. Working backwards, we have the key deadlines for the warrants to be posted. We have the advance notice for the election. I believe that's already been provided to all of the member districts with the ballot language prescribed by the MSBA, similar to what we would have seen in Carver for the school. So really just highlighting that information here. Where everyone can find our information other than talking to us. We have a Facebook page. We are regularly posting every presentation. We're posting facts about the project. We're posting as much as we can. That QR code on the top will take you to the Facebook page, Old Colony Building Project for the Facebook page. Just so happens to be also our project website. It has a full repository of every single piece of information that we presented here tonight, but also every single piece of information since the project's inception, 2021, when the school was invited to the eligibility period. That QR code will take you directly to the Old Colony School building page. We'll update this presentation onto the webpage as soon as we can, but we'd like to get everything up within a 24-hour period. One thing to note on that Old Colony building project page is we have an estimated tax impact calculator on there. What that is going to allow residents to do is hit a drop down, select the town that you live in, and then you're going to be able to plug in your assessed value, and you're going to be able to see the estimated impact to your home, and you're also going to be for the new building, and you're also going to be able to see the estimated impact for the repair. I think something we should mention on that repair option, that is repair if selected. If that repair were to be selected, that is in today's dollars. And if that project started as if it were starting today, it is about an 8-year anticipated project for a repair. Really a very, very difficult option to overcome. But what we want to highlight here is Old Colony's repairs are in need and upcoming. That cost does escalate if not moving forward right away. So 8 to 10% construction escalation year over year. Those repair costs go quite a bit. So we want to make sure everyone has that information on the tax impact calculator to be able to make an informed decision. So where you can find us other than online, we are going to be in your communities and available as much as we can. We have been, I believe this is our fourth joint FinCom and Select Board meeting. We'll be in Mattapoisett on Tuesday next week. We'll be at Old Colony's home football games. We've hit the Apple Peach Festival in Acushnet. In Carver, we will be at your local COA for a community forum presentation on October 10th at 10:30 in the morning. If there are other events that we can make ourselves available for, we certainly will be. Within the Old Colony community and at the school, we will have 3 community forums. I believe all 3 of them are at 6:30 p.m. at the Old Colony School, 476 North Ave. And those are September 29th, October 14th, and October 27th. All of these other events, you'll find representatives from Old Colony, PMA, HMFH, there to answer any questions. We want to be as transparent as possible. We want the community to ask questions. We want them to be informed in advance of that date. We are here. We are here to answer questions. As I mentioned previously, pending a successful vote, what the timeline would look like, we'd enter immediately into the design and work really for a full year. And then we move into a bidding period of about 3 months with new construction starting March 2027 and anticipating substantial completion sometime in the summer of 29 and be anticipating opening a new Old Colony building in September of 2029. We then flip the construction fencing and we demo the existing building and complete the grounds between July and December of 2029. And we'd anticipate about a 1 to 2 year time frame to close out the project with MSBA. Just right off the bat with MSBA, there is a 10-month warranty walkthrough. There's 0% chance of closing out anytime sooner than a 10-month, but there are always information that they need. They have a board period. They schedule you, so it does take a little bit of time. If we jump back to that, or if we remember back to that reimbursement slide Chad was showing, there is a small stagnant line where on MSBA reimbursement, the MSBA caps their reimbursement at 95% until you reach final closeout with the board. They come in, check the school, make sure you built what you said you were going to build, and then they offer that last 5% back to you. So the district needs to be aware of that when they bond. That bonding scenario is captured within the bonding run by Unibank. That is everything we have, and I'll turn it over to Aaron if he has any closing comments.
I'd just like to extend our appreciation for the opportunity to present. I know that you had a busy schedule and that there's a lot going on, but we do appreciate the time you've given us, and we're here to answer any questions you may have. In addition, if you have suggestions relative to other locations where we can share the message, we're happy to do so and add those to our calendar. So thank you.
Thank you. Before we start going around the room, we've had a lot of numbers, I think, thrown at us tonight. And if you could just review a couple of them. So if you did nothing, if you did no Old Colony building project and just did the repairs that are necessary to Old Colony, what is that number, and what, if any, reimbursement would come from the MSBA on that?
So that number would be $134 million approximately with zero reimbursement.
With zero reimbursement. And for this current project, what is the anticipated district cost?
So the anticipated district cost would be about $159 million, and the projected reimbursement would be approaching $130 million.
So it's about a $25 million difference for the district if you just did the building project with the repairs with no reimbursement.
Right, and the repairs with no reimbursement result in no added programming and really status quo in terms of enrollment, in terms of square footages. The improvements result in the building drafts that you got to see, and the addition of 3 vocational programs as well.
Thank you. And just as far as getting the word out to the town, we do have a special town meeting on October 7th, so I don't know if that's something you could work into your schedule or work out, but something you might want to keep in mind.
October 7th?
October 7th, yeah.
Any opportunity we have, we would love to be able to share, so.
And you could perhaps talk to Mr. Cannon, and he could work it out with the school, or see what we could work out. So.
Correct, we could work something out, I'm sure.
Okay, I want to open it up to the board. Mr.
I just want to piggyback on something Mr. Townsend said, because I was going to ask that same question. But as I recall, the MSBA used to give reimbursements for major projects, major renovations and so forth. Did something change? They don't do that anymore?
I can pass it to Chad or Walt. They can speak about the difference between base repair and renovation.
Because I know that I used to do that, so.
So you are correct. For an addition renovation or a renovation project that meets the educational program of the district, they would certainly participate. You can see that on the screen in the 2 bars that are circled just to the left, just to the right of the red bar. Those are the addition renovation, and I believe one of them is I'm sorry, they're both addition renovations. And the reason for that is because the building renovated doesn't meet the square footages required or get you to that accessibility portion. So the addition renovations certainly are, but as you can see, they are much more costly. And the reason for that, Tina kind of mentioned it a little bit, is the swing space and the need to move students around from class to class, and specifically having to rebuild culinary, auto tech, carpentry shops. It's really outfitting twice for the same program. So you are throwing good money at bad use by considering those options for addition renovation. Chad or Tina, anything to add on that?
I think you covered it. I think the key with the MSBA and the phrase that they always say is we need to be able to demonstrate that it substantially meets the educational programming needs of the district. And in this case, that existing building is less than half the size of what MSBA and DESE wants and needs it to be. So we're going to be hard pressed to make that demonstration to the MSBA's satisfaction.
Mr. Ryan.
I just wanted to clarify, so on November 18th is when the towns all go for the district-wide vote, but we're all being treated as one big, large entity. That's what I want to clarify. It's not individual towns that are going to vote in favor or against. It's going to be as if we all went at the same time to the same place. There's going to be the total number of, votes cast, and then that's all going to be counted as an aggregate of, and then what percentage has to be in favor, and maybe that's good to clarify for people to understand.
Sure, that's a great question, Dan, thank you. We have a choice when it comes to votes to consider 2 different formats. The first is 16N and 16D. And the difference between the 2 is that if you vote, let me just take a peek at, Chad, can I see your screen for a minute? I just want to make sure I don't.
I think that's 16D, that's on the screen there.
The green slide with the, can you show the green slide, Walt, right here? My apologies. Yeah, that's helpful. So if we were to use the format of 16D, basically that's a town by town. And what happens with 16D is if one town votes against the project vote fails. But what then happens is you go to a 16N because you're allowed to revote.
I see.
But the delay typically results, for us, we figured in about an $8 million increase because of the delay. So you can see that there. What we decided as a building committee was on 2 accounts. One was if we know we're going to go to a second format if the first vote were to fail, then what you really did was you upset the taxpayers who voted no by telling them their vote didn't matter and you're now going to another vote. We said we don't want to do that. If we know that the other form is the secondary vote, we're going to go right to that and just cut to the chase.
Okay.
If that fails, we basically have 10 days to appeal with the MSBA, but that 10-day period is a lot different than the $8.43 million that we would have incurred as a result of a delayed revote, if you follow me?
Yes.
Now, what that means is the aggregate is 50% plus 1 vote. If 50% of the aggregate population votes in favor of the project plus 1 vote, because it's not, some people have said, well, 51%, it's really not. It's 50% plus 1 vote, okay. So every vote counts.
Yes.
That's really what will result in either the approval or the disapproval of a project. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Ewens.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question about the building's capacity, student capacities. I know that when we did the new we still call it the new elementary school, that we were, MSBA only allowed us to build it to the capacity it was at the time we wanted to rebuild it, instead of building it out. I'm wondering if that's the case with this, or can you build it larger than you need now, knowing it's going to grow, the number of students?
We could have, and we chose to keep the number at 776.
Okay.
The MSBA approved up to 810, but we scaled that back because of concerns relative to the impact of any kind of departure. We wanted to limit that and really consider what we needed versus what we, I'll put quotes up, may have wanted. Some people may have wanted. And I think there's a delicate balance there, and we tried to really respect the delicate balance, being that plumbing and HVAC are going to allow us to open some real doors in terms of service and being a fully operational construction school. That's exciting to me. When you think about building the Carver concession stand, when people then say, could you do HVAC and plumbing, and we can say yes, that's a different ballgame. There's a considerable savings to our districts if we're working on those types of projects. Upper Cape Tech has built all of their outbuildings because they're a fully operational construction program. Dental assisting, as Tina mentioned, allows equity, and we felt that the offset is really important because we're currently a 60-40 male-female population, approximately, and if you add plumbing and HVAC, we wanted to have an offset that is traditionally a female shop, and that dental assisting, there's a real demand and there's a real labor market and there's real wages that come with that and real opportunity either in the pre-dental or in a dental assisting field. And we thought that was the best decision based on the labor market. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank
Great.
you very
Thank
much.
you.
Mr. Ryan?
How will Carver be assessed, and how will that play into what we already pay annually? So will that be one number now? Will there still be two numbers? You know, so how will the towns be assessed for the new construction?
I'm glad you asked. Capital will always be 90% of your current enrollment. It's annual, so it's variable, and it always has been variable. So it's 90% of the annual enrollment and 10% of your K through 12 population. So the majority has to do with the enrollment at Old Colony. That's 90% of the number per our district agreement. 10% is K through 12 population.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Carter?
What's the current, maybe you said a lot of information here, the current enrollment of Carver students at Old Colony?
We have the pie, I believe, that may show the current enrollment.
It was 9% or something.
It's currently at 92 students. I just wanted to make sure I gave you an exact number. And I would anticipate that that number has been trending upward, if I'm being transparent in terms of what we saw for this year's incoming class. So last year we saw significant growth in Carver. I always call the town administrator. I have good news and I have bad news, that when Glenn was in Rochester, he saw a spike in enrollment at Old Colony, and I called him on October 1st and said, please anticipate for budgeting purposes that you have a spike. And when he came to Carver, for some reason, we saw another spike. And so, Glenn, I'm not, all joking aside, we have a very good rapport. I always call the town administrator to let them know if we see any kind of aberration so that they can plan for budgeting purposes. Any aberration of anything different than 8, give or take, we typically get on the phone and just say, we need you to know that there's an increase so that you can plan for operating expenses. And that's true in all 5 member towns.
So just comparing, I mean, it's somewhat coincidental that I think the elementary school, and you guys might remember better than I do, I thought it was like a $52 million bill, and I think we got a little over 50% for the MSBA. I think our debt was like $25 million. So now we're looking at debt at $26 million for 100 students versus $25 million for how many students are in the elementary school. So it's a little scary for me from that standpoint. The other question I had was operational expenses. Have you done any analysis on the size of the school as it increases? What kind of future increase or decrease, hopefully, be in operational expenses.
Yep, we have approximately a $15 million budget. We're going to grow from about 562 to 776, and I would guess that operational expenses will increase proportionally, because we're going to have to increase the number of teachers. We're going to have to increase the number of teachers on the academic side to account for vocational growth. And so if we look at this from a proportionality standpoint, I would guess that we would see growth in proportion with the growth of the 562 to the 776. But again, that's a ballpark figure. The other thing we need to take into consideration is the number of students enrolled, because that's an annual calculation. So there's really no way to forecast what interest will look like. However, I think if we're just trying to think about it from the standpoint of what are the chances, or what do we anticipate operational costs will increase by, I'd say they'd be very close to the percentage of increase that we see in enrollment. Money follows students via Chapter 70 funding. So the Chapter 70 funding formula is also a question, right? Pat can attest to the fact that that could change dramatically on any given year. We've been waiting for them to reformulate that, and we're not sure what the future of that looks like. It's hard to predict, but I think, John, our best guess is that it'll be proportional.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the select board?
Oh, you know what? Walt just made a very good point. I said proportional, and he said in gradual. It's over a 4-year period of time, and that's really important for us to consider. When we had Freetown attending Old Colony, we need to keep in mind that there was about a $1.2 to $1.5 million revenue source from out-of-district tuition. And what happened with the departure of Freetown over a 4-year period of time was the removal of that revenue source, but the service to our member towns. More students were able to attend from our member towns, but very little impact was felt because it was gradual over a 4-year period of time. The same thing will happen with the increase from 550 or 562 to 776. That will happen in the form of about 48 students a year if we were to max out 3 programs at 16 students per program, but it could be anywhere from 36 to 48 students per year. So just keep that in mind. It will be incremental. It will not be, all in one shot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there questions for the Finance Committee?
I have a question. The calculation you use for the median price of the home and the impact on...
If you could just pass down a microphone. Thank you.
I get to. Just questioning the calculation that you were using for the median price home. Obviously, that there's a big swing in Carver for prices of homes, but you were using, I can't see it, 517.
Yeah.
Okay, and the impact on that is going to be about $320 per year, $80 quarterly. Okay. The other question I have is there a maximum number of students that Carver could have attend? I know it probably goes by the interviews and everything, but do you have a cap on each town?
There isn't a cap.
Okay.
Right. So basically what happens is, in terms of the incoming class right now, we take 150. If they were all Carver students, obviously, you could think of that as a worst-case scenario, but they're never going to be all Carver students. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're seeing as a trend is what we see in the data here, that you're anywhere from 17 to 20% in recent years of our population. And I would expect to see a continuance of that trend, at least in the short term.
Thank you.
Anyone else? That's it? All right. Mr. Cannon, do you have anything?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So can I just want to make sure everyone's clear at home, and again, we've had a lot of numbers here. So if we weren't to do this project, or if the project failed, and you went to just do repairs at Old Colony, you'd be looking at a $130 million, give or take, with nothing reimbursed from the MSBA.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Nothing else? That's it? All right. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next this evening, in our joint meeting with the FinCom is a review of the previous year's outstanding allocation of free cash articles. Mr. Cannon.
Can we pull up that? All right, just trying to pull up the list of articles that we have here.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 outstanding free cash articles that we would like to discuss with you tonight.
I think we have our finance director here as well, if you'd like to come on up and join us. Sorry, Mr. Cannon, just
That's
wanted...
okay. Mr. Preval?
Join the party.
That's right. Welcome, thanks for coming in. All right, so our first item is what, the
2018 article
Yeah.
for benefits, unemployment benefits here. We do feel as though this article could be closed out. We have a line item for unemployment benefits now. This is, for people who moved on from the town of Carver. We need to pay their assessment, if you will, from unemployment. And we do carry that in the budget now. If we exceed, if we exceed, we have to go to the finance committee. If we are under that, it just goes back to free cash every year. So we just reallocate the same amount every year.
Okay, so you think that 54,000 can be moved back to free cash?
We could close that out.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you need a motion, or we just...
I would take a motion. If you
I'll
could.
make a motion to close out the first ATM 2017 unemployment, 2018, balance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Carter?
We talked in the past about maybe switching these versus making them a budget item that gets either used or not used and put into free cash, but making it more a reserve fund. And so that maybe we're adjusting it, tweaking it during the budget process, but we always have some money set aside. Is there any benefit to doing it as a reserve fund versus an operating expense?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we could do it as a stabilization fund. So if we wanted to put money aside, we could put it in a stabilization fund, and then during the budget season, if we needed additional revenue to cover those expenses, then we would use it from there.
Doesn't matter to me, I just didn't know which was better. What would you recommend?
I recommend putting it into the budget. I mean, as we go into the FY27 budget, I'll be giving recommendations on different stabilization funds and trends that I'm seeing in some of these expenses that you don't see within the actual operating budget.
I would say one thing with the stabilization fund, you'd have to create the stabilization and vote money in there. The next year, the next annual town meeting, you'd actually have to have an article to, what's the word I'm looking for here? To amend it, right? And then actually bring in a new stabilization fund for the next year. So it'd be a process,
You'd also have no access to it through the course of the year, right? If you needed it, you'd have to, the only way to access money from a stabilization fund is to go to town meeting and access the money.
Yeah, so again, I think a budget item is better for that. So on the, I'm sorry, was there a chair? Was there a vote, Chair?
Well, no, we haven't. I wanted to give the finance committee to ask any questions they may have on this item as well before we move forward with a vote. Mr. Mahar, anything? No?
I have a question. How much are we spending annually right now on unemployment?
It varies. We spend around between $40 and $60,000. It really depends. It's been variations over the years. I'll be doing an analysis on that as we go into the FY27 budget.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I was just mentioning, as you're looking at a stabilization fund, you could always have a benefits stabilization fund that you could put aside for anticipated increases within the benefits section of the budget. And then if some year those increases, those expenses increase, you would have funds that you could utilize to cover some of that revenue.
I think if that was something that we thought, as we move forward with our budget discussions, that was worthwhile, we could talk about creating something at April town meeting.
Correct.
All right, something like that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
So the second one on the evening here is 2017 Health Insurance Fund. If I look at the creation of this fund, it was really set aside for new employees coming, well, either new employees coming in or employees who would be switching from an individual healthcare plan to a family plan, additional cost to the town. You can see this fund, actually, the fund balance hasn't been touched at all. What we really find is when we budget for our healthcare costs, correct, you know, somebody does move from an individual plan to a family plan, but somebody else moves off the health insurance altogether, or they go from a family plan to an individual plan. So it really kind of balances out throughout the year. We've never really had to go for an override or anything like that nature from the Finance Committee. So again, we're recommending this one be closed out also. You can see it's actually never been touched from the original $250,000 that's been allocated.
Yeah, and all this money would revert to free cash?
Correct, this will go back to free cash.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to close out the ATM 2016 health insurance article for $250,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Cotter.
I thought one possible use for this was if we decided to get out of the Gateway Group, there could be a substantial buyout that we might have to pay. So we're saying by closing it out and putting it into free cash, we then could put an article forward next year to put some money aside for the departure?
Correct. The Gateway Health Group that we're in is dissolving July 1st, so at the annual town meeting, we will have an article. I would anticipate having an article for us to either to be able to pay our way out of the Gateway Group, we'll have to settle up with them as we get out of there, and we might have to, sometimes there's a fee, if you will, it goes into their stabilization fund for a new healthcare group that we'd be joining. So there would be a new article coming forward.
So we'll be earmarking this kind of for that article?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Hoffman?
So I have a question. So $250,000 has been sitting in this account since 2017, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is why we're bringing it
That's why
forward.
we're closing it. Back to free cash.
Yep.
No comment.
Thank goodness we have a new finance director.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood it correctly.
Okay. All right, questions on the FinCom? Anyone? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
And the third one we have, it's listed here under the Department of Fire, but it really is public safety. All the departments do use this for public safety. It's an emergency radio communications and if they have to repair an antenna also. I've been told by the fire chief that this has historically been, again, if radios get damaged in the course of the year, they need to replace those radios. It's an emergency need, if you will. If the radio antenna goes down, generally they would split the cost between the different departments, and all three departments would be scrambling to cover that cost, which nobody ever put in their budget because it's an emergency situation. We will recommend closing out this one at the end of the fiscal year. What we're going to do is we're going to work with the finance director to have a budget item very similar to like a snow and ice. So it's going to be separate. It won't be in the fire department. It is all the public safety departments do use this fund, again, for radio replacement and the antenna replacement. But the fire chief, he doesn't want to increase his budget. You can't blame him for that, right? He doesn't want to put $50,000 in his budget. It looks like he's having an increase to his budget. But it is a fund that need to be utilized by all the public safety groups. So again, we'll have a separate line item budget, very similar to, like, say, snow and ice, where it sits by itself. And again, they can either utilize the money throughout the year. If they don't utilize it, it will go back to free cash. We will recommend closing this one out, I could say, at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. I guess the only question I would have on this, if this is a fund that we use to replace damaged equipment, why wouldn't the departments just go to the finance committee if a piece of equipment is damaged and request a transfer?
I believe they're just trying to expedite that as quickly as possible. Everything on the public sector takes time. If there's an antenna, once you hit a $10,000 threshold, it might have to go out to bid.
Okay.
There's just delays there. And again, we're talking about public safety.
Yeah, we certainly don't want any delays in public
Correct.
safety.
Exactly. The radios go down. You got to replace the radios. You have multiple calls a day here, so the time is of the essence.
Mr. Ryan?
What was the original purpose of the article and the original funding that went into the article? What was it? Why was it originally set up from free cash, and how much was it?
I want to say the original was $90,000. $100,000. They've been trying to maintain the $50,000 fee for years now. And even at that point, again, what they really did is they spent so much money every year, they tried to replenish up to the 50,000. In reality, this is another one. They should have been closing out this article and then proposing a new article. So that becomes a repetitious process, probably not the best thing in the world, not the best way to handle it, I'd say from an accounting standpoint, as opposed to it being in the budget, where it's easy to track, easy to close out. You know, once that fiscal year hits, it automatically closes out.
Anything else? Anyone else? All right.
Just take no action.
Yeah, no action on that.
And then the fourth one, I know Mr. Siedenhoff is here. This is an article from 2021, field maintenance and operations, and maybe I'll have the operations and maintenance director speak to this article.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me. I would like to keep this article open, and the reason being I've actually been in some meetings with the Recreation Committee, and they're looking to do some upgrades, specifically at the fields behind us. The softball field primarily we're looking at probably needs some extensive infield work. They would like to move forward with, so I'm going to be working on pricing with that, and this is something this money could go towards.
That'd be great. I know I've heard from several people over there, and they're interested in some upgrade. I just wonder, why has it been there so long?
This was created back, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, when the merger of the departments happened and Little League used to take care of their fields, and there was kind of a bank account put aside. We've been chipping away at it. Haven't had any large major projects, but I think a whole infield renovation is going to be one, certainly. And it is needed.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I think it goes back to it would be good when we do future articles to set some kind of a understanding of the time limit, because I think a lot of times when we go to town meeting and vote these, you know, the residents expect that it's going to be paid for that next fiscal year unless stated otherwise. So maybe between the Finance Committee and the Select Board, as we do future articles, we probably just want to make sure the residents understand, and we're finding a lot of these where they've been open for many years, and I don't think that people who voted for it intended that to be the case. Better to close it out at the end of the year and open a new one the following town meeting for the continued expenses.
And I agree. That's why I asked for these to be brought forward, because we, you know, when people appropriate money in 2021, there's an expectation that it's going to be a relatively recent project.
Mr.
But
Chair.
these are projects that are important. Yes, Ms. Ewing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Steentoff, but my understanding is that this was something that would be a multi-year project. It wasn't just meant to
When
be
it was
spent.
originally set up, correct, yes.
That's what I thought. So that's why it wasn't closed out. Correct. Thank you very much.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what I've noticed in just talking with different department heads, some of the past practices for some of these articles was to have money available to cover, you know, different costs over multiple years so that they wouldn't have to be part of the operating budget and money would still be available. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these balances just sitting here. One of the things that we're doing for the FY27 budget is these operating expenses should be in the operating budget. That way we can see, especially as we excuse me, as we complete a lot of these capital projects, you can have additional operating expense, you know, maintenance for these projects. So those are things that you're going to see in the budget, you know, just for transparency, so things aren't continued. So that's one of the reasons why, you know, we're looking to close these. I know that I just signed the payroll warrant, and I know that there's some expenses that are actually going to hit this balance of the 34 on Thursday. That's couple days.
Okay.
No, I agree, and I think one of the things I've spoken to Mr. Cannon about, and I think it's important for us when we have these quarterly financial updates, is to monitor outstanding town meeting articles and see exactly where they're at, so we have an understanding of whether something can be closed out or it's still an ongoing process. And you know, sometimes you appropriate money at a town meeting, but the project gets delayed for whatever reason. You know, who knows what it is, parts, whatever, and you have to delay that. Other times, the whole project changes, and you may have money left over that you can bring back to free cash to reallocate to a more important thing. So that's one of the reasons we want to do this on a regular basis. So,
And Mr. Chairman, again, we are recommending that this money stay intact. We want to be able to finish this project up. We're also going to do the team coming forward now. It is different. There's been some turnover. Just that this kind of project won't come forward in the future. Again, it's either in the operating budget or it is a true capital project in my mind. It's one or the other. And if it's operating, we have to figure out what that cost is per year and put that into a budget. That's on us to work out. If it's a true capital, again, I think it has to have a stop point and an end point. And, you gotta decide what you're gonna do. And there are always delays on projects, Mr. Chairman, just like you were just saying. There's constantly delays, but let's plan on either a start and an end point for all.
but that's why it's important that we monitor them.
Yeah.
Okay, are there questions on this? Mr. Carter?
I will comment that is, capital outlay has been bringing these articles up for the past 3 years that they've been open, so no one can turn around and say that we didn't know these funds were out there. And my problem is a 2021 vote was never planned to go to 2026 to be used, and there seems to be, we have to end that thought process of, hey, I found some money and now I'm going to use it for something now that was never ever planned for back in 2021. This is not even an article item. This is as we said, I don't know how this made it into an article because it is purely an expense for field maintenance and operating supplies. It never even should have been an article to begin with. So I'm just saying that I don't want anybody to think this just came up. Capital's been looking at this for many, many years now. And we keep asking why these funds aren't being used and we don't get any answers. So just a little sore spot with me. But I just want to put it out there. I'm glad we're changing. I'm all for it. Let's move forward and make sure these things have defined uses, limits, and an end date.
Yep. And I agree, but I think to Ms. Ewan's point earlier, and I agree, there has been a lot of discussion about repair and maintenance over at those fields for quite a while.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason that got delayed, it's important to get done. And it's not a new thought. This repairs have been considered quite a while over there, and
Yeah.
I'm happy that we're moving forward with it.
And that's why I think Mr. Siedentopf is here tonight to fix this problem.
I agree.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't think there's any action necessary on this. Is there anything else from the FinCom? Anything else from the members of the board? Okay. Mr. Siedentopf, thank you for coming in this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
I think that does it for the open cash articles. So we can move along to the state of the budget update from the Finance Director. Ms. Praval.
Thank you.
And just before we start, this is one of the Select Board's priorities for the year, and we are going to do this on a hopefully quarterly basis, at least as close to quarterly as we can. Ms. Praval.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I have copies of the budgets. If people didn't bring them with them, I can pass them around. I did email them on Friday. So if you have a copy, if you want a paper copy, I have copies.
I would love a copy if you have one. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that different than this one? No.
It is in the packet. I know the packet's 140 pages. It's in there. It's just at the end. You
I
gotta
always
scroll
find it
a
much
long
easier
way.
to look at these types of things.
I do too, Mr. Chairman. By the time I'm done, mine will be full of notes.
Ms. Praval.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, before I go through the summary, I just wanted to thank the town administrator, Glenn Cannon, select board members, and the finance committee for your patience and your support while I've been with the town for the last year and a half. It's been a pure pleasure working for the town. It's just a great team of people, department heads and staff, and so, I've enjoyed my time, and I'm happy to be here to present the summary of the FY25 budget. The budget you have in front of you is a draft We're still in the process of closing the budget, so there'll be, some minor journal entries that will be done if there are things that need to be reallocated to different expenses or revenue codes as we finalize the budget. But this is a draft. There may be some changes as we finalize it and get the balance sheet submitted to the Department of Revenue, and the rest of the revenue is posted through September 30th. So our revenue doesn't close out for the accruals until after the end of September. So in summary, and I'll go through this in detail, the town closed the fiscal year with $699,000 in available balances. And I believe that this is just a direct result of conservative budgeting practices, prudent fiscal management, responsible oversight, and combination with the hard work and the fiscal discipline of department heads. They really carefully manage their resources throughout the year, and I feel like it just shows a lot of diligence of the department heads in controlling their costs while maintaining their services. And I've worked in a lot of cities and towns, and at the end of the year, I'm always running to departments and telling them, don't spend. Yeah, I know you have more money in your budget, but they want to save up and pile up on supplies and, different critters and different things. And here in Carver, I had departments saying, we're going to be able to give money back. We didn't need to spend this. We tried to, be as diligent as we can with the resources in the budget that we have. So I just want to, thank departments for the hard work in maintaining the expenses and just keeping true transparency and working together throughout the fiscal year. For our revenue exceeded revenue projections in the amount of $1.6 million. We had actual tax collections came in higher than projected due to increased collections of prior year receivables, interest and penalties, and this reflected a stronger and anticipated collection on our outstanding taxes, the back taxes, interest and penalties. Within our local receipts, we budgeted conservatively to ensure the town's financial stability and just facing potential economic fluctuations. I feel like this demonstrates the town's commitment to prudent fiscal management and efficient stewardship to taxpayers' resources. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to walk through the different categories of the budget. What you have in front of you is a budget summary. The budget summary is showing the FY25 originally adopted operating budget for both the town and the school, any transfers that occurred through the Finance Committee and Select Board transfer meeting, and then we have your total cost. So that first sheet that you have is about 3 pages, front and back, is the operating budget. In summary, general government, which makes up, the moderator, town administrator, the utilities, finance, assessors, treasurer's office, legal, IT, town clerk, registrars, conservation, redevelopment authority, planning, zoning, those are all part of general government. The original projected budget, adopted budget was $3,512,462. The amount spent was $3,177,381, and we had a balance of $335,081 at the end of the fiscal year. A lot of the savings within the general government came from municipal insurance. In the municipal insurance, there was a savings of $67,000, and we had town additional hours of $63,000. Within the public safety, we had $5,354,504 that was budgeted, and what was spent was $5,214,934, and there was an available balance of $146,405. That came from the savings within public safety. We had we have around maybe $98,000 in public safety in savings that will go back into the allocation for free cash. The police department had $54,537 available, at the end of the fiscal year. Fire had $43,524. There was a balance in emergency management services for $45,755. That amount does not go back to the to free cash. It stays with the ambulance receipts, and so the transfer from the general fund is happening at the end of the fiscal year. That's why the actual savings in public safety be less $45,000. So you're looking around 95. You're looking around, savings around $98,000, a little less than $100,000 in public safety. Operations and maintenance, we had a budget of $2,135,421, spent $2,064,144, and we had a savings of $71,277. Human services. Human services consists of several budgets. Human services consist of Board of Health, Council on Aging, Veterans and Veterans Benefits. Original budget was $767,422. Was spent $649,911, and there was a balance of $134,011. The savings within the human services, mainly within veteran services. We had money available through the reimbursements that we give for the veteran services. It was $51,000. There was $43,000 savings in the veterans' actual operating budget, and that was just due to vacancies, throughout the year when there was no director. Debt service.
Could I ask a quick question on the
Yes.
human? So it looks like the Board of Health had a transfer of, so they had a 125,232, transferred 16,5, but then only spent 125,258, so gave back effectively what was transferred. Do you know why that money was transferred in and not used, per se?
Oh, so as I go through this budget, so within the summary budget, it shows the transfers in your adjusted budget. However, as I move on, we have encumbrances. So when you look at the detailed budget, and this is on, you'll see it on page 1, it will say budget summary draft, and you'll see there's 6 columns. You have the FY25 adopted budget, you have the transfers that were made, and I'm going to go over the different transfers and how much we actually used outside of what was appropriated in the operating. So you have your FY25 adjusted budget. Your adjusted budget shows your original budget plus any transfers, and then shows what has been expensed. And I have a column for outstanding purchase orders, because although you have your expenses, we have invoices of around, more than $100,000 worth of outstanding invoices that have not been paid. They're for services that were rendered through June 30th. They haven't come in, they're encumbered, and so that money I have to set aside. And so I wanted everyone to see that, through the savings that you might see in the budget, there are still additional, anticipated expenses.
So what you're saying is the balance on the human services total, that's 134, potentially isn't really 134 because there's still some outstanding payments that need to be made, so that's going to come down?
Yes, that's going to come down. So when you're looking at the detail, for this presentation, I didn't want to go through each line of the budget, but I wanted to give an overview of the amount of transfers that occurred throughout the year. So for instance, we have our budget of $24.2 million for the school, $25.299,398 for the town, $24,247 for the school. However, we also had approximately $335,000 worth of transfers into the operating budget that were unforeseen. We had $168,000 that was transferred from the Finance Committee. We had $139,000 that was transferred from health insurance, and we also had $28,000 from Plymouth County. So when you're looking at the overall operating budget, there were around $335,000 worth of unanticipated expenses that went above what we originally appropriated. There were other small transfers throughout the year that were able to be absorbed in a department's budget. So if they needed $2,000 in their salary and they had it in their expenses, they had available balances, so that you would see those transfers.
Okay.
So I provided.
I was going to say, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think the direct answer to the question for the $16,500, if I remember correctly, over at the fire station headquarters, there was a requirement from DEP to repair some monitoring wells based on previous contamination. I can't remember if it was a gasoline station or a garage, and that was mid-year. So we didn't have a budget. We had to go to the finance committee for a transfer. So that money transferred in. Now, I think it's just an oddity that it looks almost like the exact amount of money they have left over, but that's what the transfer in is. I believe it was for that cleanup at there, and again, it was the Department of Health who stepped up and took care of that project. So
all right,
I think that's
thank you.
The answer to that.
Thank you. And you also have some, you have some unpaid bills that are still pending. That's why when I do the summary report, I'm showing you expenses. And then I'm showing you the detail report for each department in terms of what has been expensed, what is still, what I have to reserve. You're not going to see that expense on any of the VADAR reports, but it's something that I have to do at the end of the year on the balance sheet to reserve money out of the undesignated fund balance to cover those. Some of the
Can I just ask a question?
Oh, yes. Oh, sure.
So any of these transfers, are they going from a department to a department or just within the department?
No, so the transfers happened, these were the end-of-year transfers, so the Finance Committee transferred $168,000. That went towards the legal fees, so the legal department had different legal cases that went over budget, about $110,500, so that covered that. The Finance Department had overtime there was $3,000 for overtime and $38,000 that was covered for Standards & Poor's and some accounting consultants, so it was used within the budget. And then we used $114,000 for North Carver Water District. So there was a transfer out of our budget of $114,000 to cover an expense from North Carver Water
Did you say
District.
the Finance Committee voted on that $114,000?
No, the Finance Committee voted $168,000, and that was to cover legal fees of $110,500 plus the Finance Department $41,000. So what happens with the transfers is that there were shortfalls in different departments. So we had a shortfall in debt service for $28,000, and that was for the bond that was issued. We had interest that was due prior to June 30th that we hadn't anticipated because we hadn't sold the bonds at the time, so it wasn't in the budget. The Board of Health, as Mr. Cannon mentioned, was $16,500, and that was for a DEP mandate that the Board of Health was not aware of. North Carver Water District had, I believe it was some wells that was originally supposed to be funded through ARPA funds, and there were no available funds to cover this bill. And so there was a transfer that was approved by the Select Board because it didn't come from the Finance Committee's money. At the end of the fiscal year.
I just wanted to make sure, because I don't think we were aware of all of these transfers, that's why. I think some of these seem like it's the first time we're hearing them.
If I could, so I think there's two different ones. So there is the reserve fund from the Finance Committee, the $175,000 that you have the control over where that money is transferred to. And then there's transfers within the different departments or from department to department, which the Select Board do vote on. So those don't have to go to the Finance Committee.
Okay.
It's just general practice.
Okay. Typically, in the past, we were always notified of that stuff and had a meeting, but it hasn't happened.
During those transfers, so I submitted a summary of all the transfers to the Finance Committee and to the Select Board after Select Board voted on the transfers that they were approving out of their budget, and I also provided information from the Finance Committee in terms of the transfers, and I had several meetings with Patrick going over the transfers, and then we met as a Finance Committee to have the 168 approved.
If I could just add, I think the process that we used to do before was that
when the transfers came to the Board of Selectmen to review, to talk about the year-end transfers, the Finance Committee might have got it first to make some comments on it, so we had something to look at. It sounds like this time you didn't see the transfers.
We saw some, but I don't know if we had all of them.
Understood. I make sure that, as we move into the next fiscal year, some of my goals and some of the things I'm trying to change, as we're meeting with departments more frequently, and, I have a really good understanding of what their needs are, anything that's unforeseen, meeting with, the Finance Committee and the Select Board more often, that transfers that are done at the end of the year, they're usually done in May, you'll be notified well before May of any shortfalls that we feel that are going to occur. Every quarter we'll be meeting with departments. There's a lot changing in the economy. We had increases in utilities this year, so the gas went up, and so there was a shortfall around $25,000 for utilities, where we had to do a transfer for that. So we're really looking at where, what we're spending this fiscal year, FY26, and also looking as we look at 27, because there are a lot of changes, and I just feel like we need to make sure that, we keep everybody aware of what's happening in advance. And that's one thing that I've been trying to work on, so that there's no surprises, and that the transparency that you wanted when I came, is provided.
So, Ms. Praval, can you just give us a brief overview of where we're at right now without going through each individual line item?
Sure. So for FY25 is in the process of being closed out. We're still working with the school department and reconciling all the grants and making sure everything from VADAR has been entered properly into SoftWrite. We're also in the process of reconciling our bank to cash books and our cash to the general ledger. So right now we have about 3 more months left of the fiscal year to reconcile, and then that will be complete. We're also, in terms of FY26, the departments are still within their budget. I haven't seen anything. We're coming into the first quarter, so the end of September we'll see where we are for the first quarter. Revenue's been coming in consistently. We're still working on posting revenue for FY26, and so right now
Mr. Chairman, I always like the bottom line, and right now for FY25, what I can see, we're under budget, so that's a good thing for us. Somewhere in the $750,000 to $800,000 range. So, that's a good thing. And I think Ms. Praval has said, she's seen other towns where they're actually coming in over budget, and you have to scramble at the end of the year for.
I think so, and I think the reason when we originally talked about this was going to be on an October agenda, and we moved it up for the convenience of the Finance Committee because they were coming in tonight anyway for a joint meeting to hear from the Old Colony folks.
Yeah.
So, but the first quarter isn't over yet. I think the goal is for both of us to see where we are at the end of the first quarter, if there's any budgets that are substantially over, where there's an issue that we may need to be aware of, and perhaps I think we don't need to do this all over again in next month, but I think perhaps you could send out an update to the Select Board and the Finance Committee, together with Ms. Praval, updating us on where those budgets are for the first quarter, any apparent overages that look like they're of concern. And again, if there's any revenue issues that you notice, bring it to our attention, and then we can address those individually. That might be the best way to do it.
And I will tell you, Ms. Praval was, I won't use the word nervous, to come for me tonight. So she's not closing out FY25 until September 30th. So she's told me that these numbers can change, and that's why, certainly as an accountant, I appreciate this. She wants to be right to the penny, and she was hesitant to come and give you the real numbers because she doesn't want to be locked into something and then say, we're going to be hit with
I understand that, and that's why I think when originally we had talked about this, it was going to be an October meeting and not this September meeting. But I also understand why you wanted to do it at this meeting. I understand, but I do think we need to have some kind of update at some point, early to mid-October, where we're at, and if there's any, apparent red flags that are sticking out, we should be made aware of them. at that time. Mr.
And-
Ryan.
Yeah, and I really like this for planning, because now we can see what went over, what went under, so when we're doing budgets for going into next year, this is going to be great to be able to have that, report that says, here's where we were definitely under planning and over planning, so this will be a great tool for us for doing next year's plan.
Oh, absolutely. September 3rd, we had our budget kickoff meeting for FY27, so all departments received a copy of the same budget summary report showing actual expenses for '24, what they spent in '25. I have a report going back 3 years looking at different trends, what they requested for '26 and what they're requesting for '27. So, I'll be meeting with departments, prior to the deadline of having it submitted to the town administrator on the 28th, but there's a lot of things that we're reviewing in detail this year. A report that I would like to submit, and, I asked you questions on what you'd like to see, because there's a lot of information. There's some people that want it on a summary level, and I've talked to Patrick a lot about, what to present. What I'd like to do is present the appropriation similar to the summary sheet that you have, and it will show what's been expensed and the percent spent, because that's something that I review. I review all the time. I probably review it on, at least on a monthly basis on what percent has been spent compared to what's been allocated, but I'll also provide the detail. And so, maybe, as I'm providing this information, some people want a lot of detail, some people just want just a summary, but I can also provide a higher level summary of this is what was appropriated from the different categories, general government, public safety, so you can see what the spendings are like. So if there's any fluctuation or, some expenses are paid in the beginning of the year, especially debt service, you can ask, and then I can provide some, you can ask me the questions, ask Glenn, and I can provide information back to you so that you have everything.
And that's the goal. The goal is to catch anything early, and I think as these meetings go, and I hope going forward that this can be a quarterly joint meeting that we have. I think they'll evolve a little bit. The Finance Committee will want certain things, this board will want certain things. You will find it easier to present things in a certain way, and I think these meetings will evolve. But I think it's important that we all hear the same data at the same time, in the same way, and we can get all our questions answered at the same time. So,
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just have one more question. So I just want to confirm, we have not closed out fiscal year '25?
No, we have not.
Is this a long time to still have it open?
No, usually we still have revenue that comes in through September 30th. So September 30th is the deadline for the state for any type of receipts for us to do accruals. So the calendar for DOR is normally we would have the balance sheet submitted to DOR around probably the beginning of October. Beginning to end, probably like any time in October is a good
So you don't
time.
recognize the revenue at the time you receive it? You recognize it?
No, so it depends. The state allows any revenue for state aid or grants that comes in between July, August, up to September 30th can be accrued. And it can be recognized. So yes, we do have everything on a cash basis, but we can accrue it for the prior year of for it to be recognized. And so that's through September 30th. So the calendar for Department of Revenue is that they usually like the balance sheets within October, and then you have the tax recap that is also due around October, November for setting the tax rate. So there's, this is a lot of reporting that has to be done at the end of the fiscal year. And then along with, updating and managing our grants and just making sure that, between the information and mirroring SoftWrite and Vadar, that's done properly. And there's adjustments that are done at the end of the year. There's abatements that have to be recorded. And just there was a delay, last year and this year in terms of having our, bank reconciliations done. So I think that
So is there still a delay in bank reconciliations?
No, we have put together a process. So we have a few more months that's being reconciled. There were some family illnesses over the summer within our department and some, vacancies with the assessor. So there was some delays in getting some of the items reconciled. But I feel that we have a really good schedule. We put in different internal controls and different schedules so that we're on, everything can be done more consistently. When we reconcile a bank, it needs to be done on a monthly basis. So we're at a point where.
What's the latest month we're fully reconciled up to?
So everything is, we have 2 more, I believe 3 more months of the year. So we have April, May, and June to reconcile. So that should be done by next week. And then, we have goals to have the first quarter of FY26 reconciled. So there's just a lot of, there are a lot of procedures that had to be changed that didn't exist, and training that had to happen within the department. So I feel comfortable that we're at a good pace where I'll be able to present this information. We'll be able to have everything reconciled. We have a system set up. We have staff that are reconciling the cash line by line and detailed, moving forward. With the school department, we are, we have a whole new process of, making sure that all of the grant and the revenue, because all of the expenses have to be entered manually as journal entries from the school department of Vader. We are doing interviews for the senior accountant next week, so I'm hopeful as we fill that position, then we'll have staff to be able to work on doing some of these things, because there's just a lot of procedures that have to be done, and there's just not a lot staff to do it.
I feel the need to ask you, since this is a state of the budget update, and one of the major problems we've had with putting budgets together in the last couple of years has been our operating system. How are we doing with VADAR, and how is that working as far as the budget goes?
The VADAR's fine right now with the budgets. I mean, all the budgets have been submitted to the departments. We will enter, when I close the books, we'll roll everything over. The question for VADAR is, whether we're going to continue using the system, because between with the school and the town being on different financial systems, it's a lot of work manually entering everything, making sure the journal entries that were done in the school department are entered in the school into VADAR. So I think that's the biggest question. We had a consultant, Eric Kinshop, that was sat down with departments and, trying to give us an idea of what would be the best system to use.
But I think we've had multiple discussions in this room about VADAR, and I think it was generally agreed that it wasn't the best fit for the town of Carver. But we haven't had an update in a while about where that is. And I think the next time we have one of these meetings, if you and the town administrator could get together,
Sure.
I think we really need to know where we're going with that software system and what the plan is.
It's Mr. Mahar's favorite
I
tool.
see Mr. Mahar.
It's his favorite tool.
He can't wait to jump in on this conversation. So.
You need a microphone.
Yes, you
do.
Obviously, one of my
favorite
subjects, right, is I'm very curious and very anxious to have an update just on that situation. And the way I understood it is we've engaged a consultant who's also supposed to be looking at this. And what has that consultant come up with? And are there any recommendations? Because this is just taking on a life of its own, and it can't continue.
I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, why don't we invite the consultants to the next quarterly meeting?
I
And
think
he can
that
give
would
us an update. I think it'd be a good thing for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, I think, quite frankly, we may not want to wait till the next quarterly meeting to invite the consultant in. I think we may want to do that sooner rather than later.
like
And speaking
tomorrow.
of the next quarterly meeting, I wanted to discuss that tonight with Mr. Mahar. So the second quarter will end December 31st. Perhaps we should talk about maybe we'll work it out a little later, but one of the meetings in January, either January 6th or January 20th, for another joint meeting to do this same state of the budget update. We can wait, I think, till we get a little closer and let the town administrator work with the finance director and see exactly where they are. But that would probably be a good date to aim for this.
We've talked about that, in our own group, and are really looking forward to and see the importance of having these planned out update meetings at least quarterly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I would, Mr. Cannon,
For a
quite
joint
frankly,
meeting, right.
and I'm sure Mr. Mahar would agree, let's find a time to bring the consultant in and update us on
Sure.
where we are with the computer system. I don't think we want to wait till January for that update.
Oh, no.
And before we adjourn from this, does any member of the board or the finance committee have specific budget questions that they have and what they have in front of them? Mr. Cotter?
I just want to reiterate that this is a good start, but, you know, is this something that kicks out of VADAR, or you have to manipulate to create?
Have to manipulate it to create it in this format.
I would just recommend to you as you go forward that, because I've done this, and, you know, you do a little bit of manipulation, 5 minutes is fine, but next thing you know, all your reports require a little bit of manipulation, you spend a lot of time doing it.
This is more data, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
So what we used to get with SoftWrite, that was hit a button, run the report, was a summary by department with the percentage, as you mentioned before, because sometimes you get a little lost looking at the numerics. You just want to say, hey, is it 1/12, 2/12, 3/12 of the year? Where do we stand? So I'd rather, you know, and it's knowing your audience. Like some of the members of the board might just want to see this with a little percentage that says, hey, this one's way off and why, where I might want to see the details so I can look at it. But again, I would just preference whatever you use, whether you go forward with VADAR, that it's hit a button, run a report, so you can just get it off your list.
Oh, yeah, through you, Chair, you know, just to what you're mentioning, Mr. Carter, is that the reports that I send out monthly are VADAR reports. I send the VADAR reports. I didn't send the VADAR reports for the summary because I wanted to show the appropriation order. There's additional expenses for state aid charges, and there's other items that hit our budget that aren't part of the regular budget because they're unappropriated, but it's just how we have to report it. So I thought this was an easier way for people to see this is what we appropriated, this is what was adopted, and this is what was expense at the end of the year. So every report that I've sent this year has just been the VADAR report. But then some people, you know, depending on what you want, I will still continue to send the VADAR report, but I'll also be sending the summary report, which matches the date with VADAR report, because there's no manipulation, it's data entry. It's literally taking what the expenses say on the VADAR report and putting on a summary report, so it's easier to see and easier to understand, especially at a summary level. So as we're updating the expenses manually and just literally, you know, have a VADAR report and I'm just adding it in, it's automatically updating a summary report because some people just want to see it at a summary level, but you know, I have been trying to send the VADAR report so that you can see everything that's been expensed.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, thank you very much for putting this together.
Anything else from the FinCom?
No, but we would just like to thank you for having us in, and we look forward to continuing that.
Our pleasure. Are you going to continue your meeting in another room, or are you?
We are now going to unrecess back in, and the finance director is going to come join us for a few minutes.
Well, I think we are done our business, so if you like, we can adjourn and you can just stay here.
We can, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn the select board meeting?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Ms. Vallo.
Vader.
Thank you, Area
Thank you, Ms.
58. Have a great night, everybody.
You're welcome.